that up last time we cast these two in the online.
Yeah, I just feel like map 5 is one that Reynor really does want to play.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see if that even comes to fruition. We are starting off on Data C for game number 1 of the last quarterfinals. In the top right, as the red Zerg for Kaisi Gaming, he is Reynor.
Also known as Kid Number 2. Bring that one back. In the bottom left, the best Terran of all time. I think it's fair to say, this is Maru.
I think he might just deserve that King of GSL.
Yeah.
VP was, you know, the temporarily crown holder, I suppose. But he didn't get that 5. Maru looking for it, actually, potentially after winning this tournament. That would actually be the most ballerist thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
He wins Valencia and then gets his GSL 5.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Especially because Maru, especially in offline events where he's had to travel, sometimes he doesn't show up, right? You know, there's been events where he's done well. He's been at WSGs with great runs and stuff, and he's been to IEMs way back in the day that he's taken down. But it has been a while since he's really shone in an offline event, and well, this might be his best chance because I feel like if he wins here, in my eyes, I feel like he's one of the favorites to go all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely, for sure, for sure. As they kind of brought up on the desk, but, you know, Katowice 2020, we had high hopes. We thought the finals was going to be Maru versus Serral. Yeah. And then they lost to Rogue and Zest, respectfully, which, yeah, well, that just, you know, as they said, Rogue just doing that thing about being the hype killer. We don't necessarily have any hype killers this time around, although Dark is sometimes scarily close to being one. We'll see if that actually comes true. But we do expect big things from these guys and this matchup as well. You know, it very rarely ends so one-sidedly, especially when you have Maru, who can decide, you know what, you are winning. Congratulations, Zerg. I'm just gonna chill. And are you winning after that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop playing my late game, and we'll see what happens then. And big map to start us off on Data C. One of the biggest we've got, and we're going to start with the command center first as well. So a little bit funky from Maru, something a little bit different. Just says, hey, this is a big map. There's no way you're going to get cheesy straight away. Map 1, something like this. So yeah, just going to take a little eco advantage compared to what you might have usually had, and go from there. As Reynor's just been set up pretty standard himself, working on those rocks. Getting ready to go.
Yeah, wasn't it Reynor Bunny where Reynor said that he wasn't really sure about that 2-base attack? And I think in the interview, he actually just directly said, like, my mind was very focused on, it's 2 factory. My mind was very focused on Marauder Hellbat.
Yeah.
So I think that the only reason I'm bringing this up is that I was actually a bit surprised to hear that he apparently was thinking about that so much. So I wonder if he would maybe be worried about that again. But as noted here, we see that is not at all that. It is a 2 factory opener, so going to go into Blue Flame. Something that Maru has been throwing out every now and again, follows up with some Widow Mines and just non-stop pressure, really. So Reynor, I mean, first of all, needs to make sure not to just immediately die to the Hellions. But then even after that, all of the harassment that Maru's going to throw at him, you know, Reynor is one of the fastest players, but it's still a test. It
really, really is. You're going to see the starport coming up here as well. You know, this is one of these builds that's fun because you can also go into Stim afterwards, or you can keep on playing mech. Now, this is a big enough map. I think Maru just might say, I'm not playing bio on this map against you. I know it's going to be covered in creep. It's going to be difficult to push. So maybe he just cranks out into mech from this point onwards as well. We will see. Of course, we're expecting Blue Flame to start, and there it is. We are even going to get a Viking on the way, so you can clear out Overlords and trying to clear out some vision. That Overlord is in the bottom left-hand corner, and I believe making its way into the main for the ever-so-important scout of the double factory.
There is kind of a pillar over to that right side where an Overlord can be in any matchup, but it's actually one of the trends of the new maps that there's not so much that standard place. Even so, Zerg sometimes in the old map pool would have that option of tucking it into the back. Sometimes they would, sometimes more often I don't think they would. So this is really important that this just kind of came together for Reynor to have that super easy scout, and Maru was not expecting it. If he knew the Overlord was back there, the factory probably would have gone over on that right side of the main base, or even in the natural, but wasn't quite sure. So the jig is up as far as that goes, but like I was saying, it's great that you can defend the first Hellions and, you know, the actual Hellion run-by, or push perhaps if the Queens are a little too alone. What about the follow-up? Because it is going to be those Widow Mines that can also be very tricky. I think he's even throwing Liberators in here, and he does go into Stim often, I suppose, from this one. But I liked your point. Like, mech is still on the table.
Yeah, he built a tech lab on the barracks, but then he actually did start up in Medevac, so he's going to have that to help him harass with. So we'll see what he wants to do. The Armory's finishing as well, so that is going to give him an opportunity to maybe even more Hellbats here, right? But there's going to be Roaches, so I'm not really sure what he can get done with this overall. Counterattack from Reynor, but there will be Blue Flame Hellions still spawning for Maru to defend with. I'm going to see the first drop going into the main base directly. 2 queens immediately positioned. It's going to be drilling claws on the follow-up.
Yeah, this is exactly what he did in the GSL. So the Widow Mine's already going to be, cloaked. There's got to be Spore Crawlers coming down, but then also having that Drilling Claws eventually. But it's going to be test after test after test. So many harassing units going to be thrown Reynor's way. So far, so good on the defense. Blocks that with the Evolution Chambers. Blocks the natural with the Queen as well. Only 2 drones go down, and that medevac just fell. So there's a lot less harassment options now.
Yeah, no, I mean, straight away, this has just been a brilliant defense. Everything Maru wanted to do was going to be great. The Lings get straight in, and now Maru's got to pull the SCVs. This has just not been the opening that Maru has been looking for in the sliders. SCVs continue to pull. There's just no units coming out because he's been building Widow Mines, so the Hellions have to come home to deal with this. 5 SCVs down, and 10 Lings get more done than what 10 plus Hellions did.
Yeah, that's a scary fact right there, but that is indeed a fact. This is going to be one of those games where if Maru does decide to play this out, and of course he will, it's not really game over quite yet, he's going to have to turtle. I mean, even here, I think if this was a ladder game, he might have tapped out, but yeah, it's not a fantastic game, but Maru, he is, well, I guess like both of them can be king of comebacks in their own right. We think of Reynor a lot of times that he's come back in like the ZDZ finals against Serral, but for Maru, the comeback king, especially in TVT, but just like defensive comeback king. Reynor is like the offensive comeback king. He'll throw something at you and you'll catch it by surprise. Maru will chill out. All right, just like find a sofa to like lay down on, and then that's how he's going to come back in the game. So it's kind of a cool mix of styles here.
Oh, the Evo Chamber goes up just in time. Once again, the defense continues to be on point for Reynor. I remember back in that Katowice run where Reynor came back against Maru from 0-2 down, and one of the big things then in his ZVT was, hey, look, my early game was just repeatedly so good. I wouldn't lose any drones, 1 drone, 2 drones maximum, and it just set me into such a good position in the mid game, which I have to have against these sort of players. He was very kind of vocal about that back then, and that's exactly what he's shown us in this game 1 as well right now. Really solid defense throughout. Yes,
like too solid, I'm afraid. When Maru did this versus Sue, it did enough damage, and then enough damage, and then enough damage. Arguably to the point that Sue was already dead, but you were like, well, maybe he can come back. But then Maru had that really fast follow-up with the tank push, and that was also very difficult for Sue to defend. And then he also did something interesting where he built 4 Marauders at a time. That's a lot early on in the game, but we'll see if he does the exact same thing. If he does, if he tries to capture that same pacing and just be like, well, now I push out, right? Well, he's done nothing really to Reynor. Even right now while I was talking, there was attempts to get Widow Mine shots that weren't effective. So Maru just can't push out. Like, he has to turtle.
Yeah. Oh, no, he absolutely has to. Just see Medevac, Hellions, tank, all joined up on this third base. A few SCVs moving back along and Depot going down as well, as we are going to be moving up to the top here from Maru and just getting rid of some of this creep spread already. So clearing out a little bit of this right now. Missile upgrades continuing through, by the way, as well. Roach speed about to complete. We'll see if Reynor wants to do much with these upgrades now finishing. He is teching. Infestation Pit's coming down. He's got a lot of army supply, though, and he might just be able to poke in at least see what's going on. Because right now, there's nothing to do but build units. He's got the drones for the game.
Yeah, this is just go time. There's going to be so many options here. Reynor can attack multiple directions. He can go ahead and not attack, but then kind of just posture and then get into a super good macro game. But he is going to go for the attack. Now there's some SimCity. The SCVs are immediately pulled, and the Marine count is rather good, but 22 SCVs already killed, and it's not quite done yet. Although I do think at this point Reynor is maybe overcommitting. The Queens won't be able to escape. The Ravagers won't be able to escape, so they are going to be mowed down here. So okay, Reynor did lose a little more than expected. He was hoping for a bit more of a push through. Yes, 22 SCVs still died. That 4th CC is only halfway done. Reynor still has this map as his playground.
Yeah, I really feel like it was perfect for him. It was like, oh, you're killing SCVs, but you're staying maxed out because you're just reinforcing, right? You've got the money, you've got the bank, you've got the workers. But then he did stay too long. Some tank shots were really nasty on some of those clumped up roaches. The Queens have no business being there. They achieve nothing in that situation. It's not like they can transfuse right off creep nowadays. So yeah, didn't love that, and even if you come in from this bottom side at the same time, that could have been really cool.
Yeah.
That would have been an opportunity to get on top of some of those tanks, and now he's maybe leaving himself just a bit exposed to maybe some counterattacks. He's rebuilding, and he is teching as well. Hive on the way up and making a switch into melee upgrades, bailing speed. The next few attacks from Reynor are not just going to be Roach Ravager.
No, which is, it's kind of easy to size up. There's the SimCity problems going to be bigger against Roach Ravager, but yeah, Ling Baneling just opens up a lot of explosivity. Oh my goodness, shouldn't have done that on broadcast, but point is, they open up a different style of play. I also think that Reynor was really eager to go for that push because Combat Shields wasn't done. It still isn't done. It's actually like a triple drop without Combat Shields at 10 minutes. You're going to find a hatchery apparently for free. Nothing to really punish that. And Maru is going to take that defense and try to run with it, and that is exactly what he does. Because I would say most other Terrans, you see him lose 22 SCVs, you still him still be on the back foot most of the time, and you're like, well, Reynor, he still got it. But now that Maru's got that jab back, you're like, okay, all right, it's a Maru game. It's Maru versus Reynor. We're gonna get into a couple more minutes here.
Yeah, it's rough losing the 5th base just because we are 98 drones. You kind of want to have a few going on over there. So Reynor's economy stunted just a little bit, but he's about to hit Bane speed. He's about to hit +1 melee. That said, it's going to be 2-2 in a moment from Maru, so he'll have an upgrade up on every single unit of Reynor's. That's worth mentioning. With the Adrenal Glands already on the way, at least Reynor will have the Lings powering up, and he is going to move into Ultras from here. I feel like if he's going to get Ultras, he needs to start prioritizing that Carapace upgrade again.
Yeah, he does finally start that up as well. So you have 8 barracks. Maru's already out in the tech labs there, so he'll be able to add in Marauders at a bit of a trickle, but like well enough time, basically. The Ultras are very good. I mean, defensively, they're all right. Offensively, we know that's where they start to lack power, but they're also very good in both situations if you really are up against just someone like moving Marines around. But you add those Marauders, obviously you also add up the Ghosts. Ghost Gravity is on the way, and you're talking about a very turtly Terran of the Anticipation. Crucipiles ended up being way off. But yeah, now Reynor also probably starting to think back to some of those games where he was unable to crack the Terran. You know, and it's not just against Maru. There's a couple other games like in the Cast Civil War that had happened where this is now officially the point where Maru can also play his game. The build did not work out, but the rest of this game, this is something that Maru is good at.
The good news for Reynor, it's a large map with a lot of bases, right? So even if Maru sits back, he can envelop the map. It's not stuck on the smaller maps like we've had in the past, like Curious Minds or something, or even like Inside and Out in this map pool right now, where there is a limit to your bases. There's a limit to how much you can expand before you do just have to attack. Here, he really can just go crazy on the expansions, and that's what he's doing. Double base bottom right, one of the bases now up in the top left as well, and currently split to defend pretty nicely. He's got good creep to maneuver around the map as well, as these Banelings do a little bit more than I think Maru wanted them to.
Yes, for sure. He is going to be filling that supply a bit later on with something maybe not so many Marines, but right now he just kind of needs to make sure that he has a stable army supply so that Reynor doesn't go, oh, okay, I just killed a whole bunch. Let's just gun it. Which I'm not sure Reynor would have done without these Vipers, regardless of how much he killed there, but it's still kind of a scary problem for the Terran, kind of mid-transition, if you will. They want these drops not to just be threatening, but to actually survive in case they need to come back and help as well. But I think it is just super, super late game. And I like that Reynor's opening up so many options, not just going for the Ultralisk Cavern, which hasn't really been used, but also the double Spire. If we are going to go into like 20-25 minutes, like the map's going to actually kind of narrow down. It's going to get smaller in a sense, and then Broodlords will be excellent. Or if he just sees an open transition point where Maru is clearly not prepared for Broodlords, Ghosts do prepare for everything late game, but it's more like a mental shift for the Terran if they know if it's X or Y composition.
Yeah, I like the preparation in advance, at least, as we do see the little drops doing what they can. Maru being very annoying around the map. He's finding some real good corners to unload and just come in from weird angles that Reynor was not expecting. He did not pay enough attention to that drop, though, and half HP damaged on a hatchery is not enough for over a medevac of Marines. He'll take that up towards the main base, but Reynor should be on top of it from here on out, and he's even going to drop a couple parasitic bombs. Those won't kill the medevacs, but they will get them low for future denials.
This one Spore is looking at it.
Yeah.
Eat him. No, you're not. Just kidding. Is he gonna abduct? Oh, no, he's gonna use the full thing there. That's so cute. If only there was like 6 Marines, maybe they could have sniped a Viper. But we also have a push here now from Maru. So this is a really nice opportunity for the Terran when they can do this expand and punish the Zerg's expansions. It's the most ideal situation, really, when you have that planetary helping your defense at home. And then the other side of the map that might be a little lackluster on the defense has all these tanks. Actually, a little less SimCity than I would think we would expect from Maru. He might fix that after this push and just be like, add some like more command centers over there. And then he'll be able to respond both left and right very well.
Tank, Ghost doing what they can on the ramp there, as obviously Reynor's trying to get a bit aggressive. At this point, probably wants to trade out these Roaches a little bit as well. They're not great supply-wise, so it's kind of beyond that point in the game where Roaches are really needed. He's going to build a lot more Lings. He's got extra Ultras on the way up. I love this. Just sends a few Banelings through to clean out this mineral line. Perfect, get 13 SCVs, slow that economy of the Terran down. Reynor has a massive bank. If you can stop the Terran ever getting set up on a bank of his own, in theory, you should just be able to close the door on this game.
In theory, yeah.
But then you've got the Maru factor, right?
Yeah, that is always the issue.
The Maru exception.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that Reynor is still going to win this game. Tremendous bank, a lot of creep spread, taking up all the bases as well, and then again, having so many options with the type of army and where the army goes as well. It just, a lot's looking good for Reynor. But Maru is doing the classic Terran thing, right? Where we're like, oh yeah, the Reynor has the map, or the Zerg has the map and all the money, but Maru has the army supply and a lot of potential in that army supply. Well, okay, not after that. But they'll fill it with better units anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, just going to be seeing the Ultra Bane coming through the center. He was morphing 60+ Banelings at once just a few moments ago. And that means that, well, he's got a lot of them to use right now. He's going to look for an attack in, maybe left and right side here. He's got Blinding Clouds to utilize as well to help him engage into this position. But the Viper's going to get EMP'd. At least one of them did. Now he Blinding Cloud to push the Ghosts a bit further back. They cannot set up their snipes just yet, as these Ultras have been able to get through. And while we clear out a few of the tanks, we're going to get rid of some of the SCVs. And again, this is what you want to do is Reynor instantly rebuilds 84 lings. He is still teching to that Great Aspire, still improving his air upgrades as well. So continuing to tech while just trading out, making use of his bank and trying to slow Maru's economy down as much as possible.
Yeah, it's really too bad he didn't have the EMP upgrade. I'm a little surprised he didn't get it after the Viper hit was not good enough. But maybe in the future. Right now, it is just about defending. He knows that his supply is a little weak. He did just get a lot of his tanks destroyed as well. But he's also doing this interesting thing here, Wardy, which he is getting Hellbats. This was not a mistake. Yeah. This was not repeated mistakes. He's actually just getting Hellbats. Something that I guess is a little more mobile that goes along with the Ghost to soak up those last few Banelings. Which, when tanks are the thing you're depending on, if they get overwhelmed by the Lings, they don't even shoot correctly unless you're microing them. The Hellbats kind of just make it easier to, I think, specifically guard the Ghost from the overwhelming Baneling Ling problem that can happen in this matchup. Here we go for round number 3 or 4, whatever it is. Maru does have a decent supply. A lot of Ghost Liberators coming in as well, and a couple of tanks still in play, although they do get Blinding Cloud. The third one's in play, but that is so many Banelings. The Planetary also could be a target, but he wants the Ghost. He goes back into the mech circus on the left side, and that was actually a bit roly-poly-oly every which way, and Maru kind of makes it look okay.
He honestly does, because those Ghosts were meant to die.
Yeah.
The Blinding Clouds really kept them from kind of being saved by the tanks, and they really felt like Reynor should have got them, but then they kept getting away, and then he didn't really get that much done with the Banelings, and so it was a very expensive trade out. And once again, you'll see here that Reynor's bank has been depleted heavily. He's lost thousands of minerals over the last few fights, and while he still has a good bank, he's not really trading that well, and he's not really breaking down the economy of Maru anymore. Maru instantly replaces the base just lost. He's expanding bottom right, and I feel like that is an issue at the moment, that if Reynor doesn't stop this from happening, he's going to be in some trouble.
Yes, that is true. That's kind of the, exactly a ticking clock here, but it's I guess use the word domino again. It's kind of the first domino, but okay. That one's not going to get set up. Just an easy find there, as Maru wasn't really prepared to take the engagement on that side, but that is something he will eventually replace. He is finally getting that EMP upgrade because he's got everything else. He even finally got Marauders slow, but that made sense because he was actually very late to building Marauders. He emphasized the Ghost production first and foremost, but now he's getting all the upgrades. So I guess the only thing he's missing is a high-sec auto-tracking. Love the Nidus Swarm. Actually, a lot of the time we see double Nidus Swarm this late in the game, so I'm a little surprised we just don't have that, but it seems like one is going to the trick for now.
Yep, first one as well, so Maru's not quite in position to immediately deal with it, but he's going to start trying to as he goes elsewhere with this army. Reynor, the Nidus does not get up, unfortunately. Well, it gets up for half a second. Bane's going to roll in. They want to get rid of this planetary fortress. They will get rid of it, and he gets the base building next to it, which means he will at least stop the instant replacement on that location, which is good. Steps in the right direction, bringing Maru back down to only 4 mining bases. Reynor, again, just 2,000, 3,000 minerals in the bank. It's a long shot from where he once was. He had 8,000 minerals at some point. Again, these trades are not efficient, but they're not really meant to be efficient either, right? They're meant to be inefficient. You mine a lot more. That's why Reynor has so much of the map, because he just really needs it.
Yep, very much the sort of thing to do. So I think Reynor is playing it out well enough, but the problem really is that we've witnessed enough of these games at this point that we know that, you know, this might usually be par for the course for the Zerg in a good way. When it's Maru, when it's this Maru style of play and some of the other great Terrans that we have, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you victory. You feel like you're doing everything right. You feel like you're pulling them out of position and that you're killing enough economy. But then maybe at the end of the day, you weren't actually taking down their army or the composition. And that still is too hard to actually do. So might be one of those games, as both of them are maxed out once again, kind of full up on those upgrades for the most part. Reynor is trying to add on some Broodlords. He might even try to harass with them, more so than include them in the main army. Now he's actually just setting them up, making sure that they're nice and safe, and they're out of the scan, too. Just I don't know, a couple of in-game feats there. So that's going to be a bit of a surprise for Maru, but this engagement does not look good for Reynor. I'll tell you that much.
Nope, getting sniped all over the place. Those ghosts are very difficult to break, and the problem is Reynor's just continue to play this like bust you down style, and if you don't bust them down,
there you go.
Eventually it becomes a problem. The Broodlords aren't now morphing, coming into higher numbers. I mean, that's his new play, but the Thor count is brilliant. I'm not really convinced by the Broods.
Yeah, no, I'm not either, actually. And the fact is, like, I was talking about those Hellbats protect the Ghost. They do that, but they also are it's like a mech thing. The Hellbats help protect the Thors, which will deal with the Broodlords rather well. If it was mech, there'd be more of them, and it'd be brilliant. But in this case, it's halfsies on Ghosts and Thors, and those are all units who run against Broodlords. It is, what, 13 Broodlords? And they have some upgrades on them as well. But I don't know, man. They aren't what they used to be, that's for sure. Although it looks like Maru wants to make sure that he is all focused on the attack, but Reynor's not going to let that happen. Trying to run into the third base, nice run back in the main as well. Not actually being used, but the threat is there, and Maru has to take it seriously.
Yeah, Broodlords are going to be moving on through. Yep, the United is a distraction. There was also that little run by as well, so some SCVs do go down. Maru just says, cool, that's nice. I'll just build even more units. My army supply continues to grow as he holds onto this planetary fortress for the moment. Would love to keep a hold of this position as long as possible. We've got a couple of Vipers coming through as well. Got to be careful of those EMPs as the Broodlings getting a good wrap around, but the SCVs continue to repair. The Infestor's thinking about coming forward. There's the EMPs, one single abduct, and that will be it. That Thor turns around, gets one shot off. That's all it's going to find.
This planetary might eventually be a goner. Yeah, actually, Maru is going to stop trying to save it. So all the SCVs are going to die. That is a base that Maru can't really super easily replace, both in mineral-wise as well as just positioning-wise. Maru realizes that something else has got to give. While the composition he has can be good against Broodlords, it is also very much still a positional game. So he is going to run to the top left, take care of some of these bases that Reynor has had for free for a long time. And that base didn't have a lot of drones there. The top left actually does. Reynor was, actually kind of needs that one. So that's going to be gone. 3 hatcheries for currently the price of 1 command center that was instantly replaced. Reynor's army is just so immobile.
Yep, it really, really is. He just can't kind of get to where he needs to be as this top left will start to go down. And it's worrying, right? Like, Reynor has a bit of a bank up a game, but he's not going to have the drone count he once had, especially if those Hellions connect on those drones in the top, which he just did. 10 or 11 went down all at once. Yeah, I mean, Maru's still contesting for this bottom right base, but without the top left as Reynor, he's got 13,000 plus resources to make up in this game, and he doesn't currently have the bases to do that.
This isn't exactly the last army he'll have, but considering how just it could go really poorly, I mean, he's definitely not going to have a super huge second chance at life, and definitely not a second chance with an army like this. I am concerned. I do have the concern, Wardy. Maru might have done Maru things and brought this game back. It's all be about positioning, maybe a couple of clutch fungals. Maybe Maru thinks that he's got the EMP and all the fungals, but then boom, suddenly not. I mean, it's kind of what's going to coming down to is Maru once again looks to push into this bottom right side of the map.
There's going to be seen Libera sieging up over there. Another Nidus attempt into the main, but there's just one tank there that denies it straight away, so nothing really gained there at all by Reynor. As Maru just deciding where he wants to push in from. There's a reason we give him the Maru exception. As the Duke doesn't do too much, but could have been scary. He's going to have a few of these Banes being sniped off as well. And can we save the Thor? Medevac is there. And that's a nice liftoff. Yeah,
the Thor also has +3 armor, by the way, so it is kind of comical witnessing hugely upgraded Lings, which are usually great against a really, literally armored Thor. Anyways, this is still going towards a later stage, apparently. We're not going to have any kill move exactly. Both of them, I think, very shy about taking the wrong fight, because both of them are going to replace these armies quickly or at all. So it's good to be cautious. But someone has got to kind of force the issue, and right now, I guess they're choosing the same exact time. It's going to be a base trade in the sense of a base for base, perhaps. Maru's planetary is going to try and buy some time, but only so much can be bought against 1 billion Broodlings. And Maru is, I think, just maybe giving up the bottom right. You know, it was about expansions to the bottom right for Maru for a while, but now it seems like since he's cleared out the top left, he's going to rotate the focus up there as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why he's going to get his expansion set up, right? So just going to go get that established. And, I mean, it just starts to feel really difficult for Reynor, honestly. It's crazy how he does it. And it just, the whole game kind of turns just because Reynor had one push in that didn't really work out. And then Maru was right back into the game to at least hold on and hold on. And Reynor's just never found another fight since then, which has been good for him, you know? Like, every single one of these fights has been like, yeah, well, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, you got the economy, but didn't catch the ghost with all those bailings that time as well. That was an expensive misplay. And you just can't have those against Maru, and that's the power of him. He knows if he just sits back, he can potentially bait you into bad fights. That's how you get back into this. Another Nidus attempt in the main. There's no tank here now, so this Nidus might go up. We'll see if Maru can deal with that without too many issues.
We'll see, actually. Yeah, so far the Nidus room hasn't even, not even sure it's really been filled at any point. Reynor just assumes it's going to be only used as a distraction. Yep, once again, it's not even filled. Of course, you put 20 cracklings in there, guys, and it is actually still very effective. But maybe you're thinking of like lurkers. Obviously, those are not in play. Those would also be really obnoxious, but this really is just Reynor like probably figuring it's going to only distract, then be cleaned up. Even the lings would not be worth to get. Maybe even simply for the supply, right? He could afford lings, clearly.
Yeah.
But the supply is all going into Broodlords. 23 of them in play, guys. 5 Investors, 3 Vipers. Only a handful of Corruptors, but not really a fear of getting Vikings suddenly popping out of nowhere from Maru. So that's not a problem there. And again, another Nidus Swarm that
you know,
something is in it. There we go.
Yeah, a few lings actually do pop out this time. Thor will deal with them. A couple of lurkers are coming out. It just feels like Reynor right now is on an army that is irreplaceable. If he loses it one time, it's not coming back. Broods take way too long to build, and Infestors are real expensive. All these spellcasters. He needs to win this next fight, and it is going to come down to basically that one big fight. All the Thors and everything taking on all of those Broods. That is going to decide this game number 1 of what is the best of 5 quarterfinals here in DreamHack Valencia. One last quarterfinal, and we're almost 30 minutes deep into game 1.
I was really hoping to get a Viking, but I guess the Thor finally takes care of that. Reynor is going to make, I think, just more Overseers throw back there, though, just to make sure that this is an option, especially because he just made a couple of lurkers, which I assume we're supposed to go in there. Loving the last couple of upgrades on the way. Neural Parasite is not just a, okay, well, I guess I'll get it. I'm actually kind of surprised it took them this long to get it, because it can be really effective against those Thors. But also Transformation Servos, going to help the Thors change their mode, need be.
Yep.
Since we don't have any Vikings, that's not super important. But even for Hellions and Hellbats, can do maybe a little more harassment, if that is a plan. It's just a nice upgrade, and it's kind of cheap, too. So they really are getting all the things in a TVZ.
Absolutely. Every little something that might just help out. A few zoning turrets here as well, just in case the fight happens. Try and zone out those Vipers a little bit. Maybe some detection, too, to make sure you're not getting flanked in by those Infestors. We've seen that a lot with those burrowed Infestors moving around. So just trying to get rid of any sort of anti-play if that's possible here. And Reynor on the bottom side is trying to mine bases that were once Maru's. That's the kind of state that this game has got to, because Maru is mining bases that were once Reynor's. This map is kind of flipped in a fun way. ZSC giving us a great opener here, as we are going to see both sides.
Oh my God.
Right now, but all the ghosts are up here. We get some snipes off, but the ghosts are getting surrounded, and Reynor kind of gets a good catch.
I saw that EMP, I heard it, and I was like, oh, but is there anything to follow up on it? And then just thought all the ghosts were there. They got a lot of snipes, but I think actually a lot of them weren't doubled up, so they didn't actually get a lot of the kills from the Broodlords. They severely injured them, so that's a bit of a problem considering that ghosts were sacrificed in that attempt there. Okay, we heard some explosions, and that is a couple of dead Broodlords, now down to 16, but only 10 ghosts as well. The Thor Hellbat kind of responded to the bottom right to try and make this more than just like a big glob of army pushing in 2 different directions. They tried to split up a little bit. Who did it really work out for better? Maybe hard to say. I mean, yeah, the resources lost. I think still it's been around 16,000, so it's still there.
Yeah, the resource lost about even. I think Reynor right now just mining that tiny little bit more. Already has a bit more bank, and I'm kind of starting to worry a little bit about Maru's gas income. He just doesn't have a lot of it, so, what was once maybe an irreplaceable army for Reynor, we're kind of getting to that point for Maru as well now.
Yes, clearly the biggest problem in a game like this that's going to extend apparently to mining out all the bases is who mined out the most, and that would be Reynor. So he's got a little bit of a gas bank, can replace some of these snipes if an Infestor is kind of off to the left or a Viper gets caught off to the right, something like that. Can even replace the Broodlords to an extent. He is now seemingly adding on lurkers to just pair up with the main army. I'd called out maybe his putting in the Nidus Swarms that never did anything. He just entirely gave up on that. So they are actually just going to help out with the main army or against harassment by the looks of things too. I do wonder if they're going to really affect the game. They do seem like a, well, why don't we try this? You know, that kind of stage of the game.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. Another scan goes out from Maru up to the top side. We are going to be having these two massive armies hoping to clash at some point soon. It's 163 to 165 army supply, both of them on such low worker counts. Maru is spending a lot of his minerals still on additional command centers, obviously replacing bases, extra orbitals, more mules, more scans as well, of course, to keep information up permanently, more or less. So all of that continues to establish here, and again, that army of Reynor is kind of nuts as well. 11 Infestors, 2 Vipers, 21 Broodlords. The numbers across the board are great, as Maru has a little bit of bio. Feel like we've not seen much of that for a while. It's going to get cleaned up easily.
I'm just so happy to be here, Wardy. 31 minutes in a TVZ.
Yeah.
Best pal Wardy with me. This is great.
That's nice, isn't it? It's better than being 31 minutes in the TVT where nothing happened.
Yes, well, yeah. No, TVZ is actually fantastic, but we are kind of waiting for that big headbutt into each other's armies,
yeah.
Which it is inevitable. You know, this is not a type of game where a base race happens and then, you know, someone loses their last building or they start to split up, I would say. If a base race does happen, Maru would probably lift his buildings with the army and then go hunting for the fight. So we are eventually going to see these tier 3 armies clash. They just really don't want to unnecessarily in case that ends up being the worst fight for them. Now, I do like this. This was kind of in question just because Maru didn't have a lot of bases and literally the map is starting to mine out as well. But I do like that he's opened up the air path a little bit more because I think that's something that Maru or Reynor is not really expecting. Again, more of like a mental shift. How do you deal with that? Or in this specific case, you know, if he is lacking Corruptors, literally a 0, so we put them all into Broodlords. And if you do get maybe even just like 8 Vikings, you can try and skirt around some of the spellcasters and get some free shots. If that was the plan, I wouldn't even mind an attempt, but then you'd have to really believe in it because that would be the rest of your bank. But adding on Liberators, if that's all you want to do, I also love that. I think that's another complication for the Zerg player to handle. So this is continuing to define the Terran army.
It's really good at zoning out Infestors as well, right? So if they want to try and get forward for the Neurals, they maybe can't. It's just going to be one extra target for the Zerg to have to deal with. Like you say, one extra complication. And it could make all the difference. That Liberator range coming out, that's what's really going to extend those Liberation zones to be as far forward as we need them to be. So as Reynor takes this bottom side of the map, there's not a lot of resources really left to be mined. There's a base also here and there that hasn't been touched as much, but we are getting to that kind of really mined out scenario here on Data C. You know, if there's one map in the map pool I feel like encourages this, this is definitely one of them. I think there's another couple. One of them is Vidod, I believe Cosmic Sapphire. Tropical Sacrifice might encourage these kind of games later on in the series, but Data C was absolutely the map that was likely to go long. Initially it didn't look like it would, and then Maru brought it back, and here we are waiting for, again, that big fight. They keep on trading sides of the map, they keep on turning out bases, but we've not seen armies clash in quite some time.
Yeah, we actually have not. There's been a lot of clearing up and a lot of space making, and Maru is, again, adding on some Liberators, literally just a couple, but yeah. This started out with Maru's build just really looking like an L, and then maybe a bit of an over-dedication from Reynor in the mid-game with the Roach attack has led us to a 34-minute game where they are both equally capable of winning this fight. And I think it might finally be happening. The slow push with nukes is going to force the issue from Reynor, who maybe decides not to. Is like, wait a minute, that didn't actually look so hot.
Well, I mean, he was fighting through the choke point essentially, right? And it doesn't matter so much because a lot of his units are air, but it does mean that Maru gets to spread out and get as many Thors into the fight as possible. So if Reynor's feeling, maybe just play this slow. You know, I've got these Vipers, so I can abduct stuff in. I can get a bit of efficiency going, and every single unit you pick off right now can count for so much. Yeah, the banks are building, but again, the exact armies they have right now are nigh on irreplaceable. They are so expensive. Reynor's army has 8,000 gas in it.
Oh my goodness. I'm just really scared when the Broodlords move like that. And you're obviously trying to find the nuking ghost to just snipe that easy peasy. But when they move, they clump. When they clump, I don't know, bad things can happen. Not in this particular army. All those Thors are in single target, but just the immobility of the Broodlords makes me concerned. They're going to be slow pushed back by the nukes. If they try to stop the nuke like we just had, then perhaps Maru pulls the trigger, and Reynor is not ideally set up for it, right? So this is a kind of more of that point of putting pressure on the Zerg. Now, it's still a very careful game from the Terran. They can't just be like, oh, I got you now, and then rush in. But it's a little more on the, okay, Zerg, how can you survive this? Do I just push you inch by inch into death?
Well, we're going to drop an EMP or two there with the Ghost initially because the Broodlords are getting forward. Maru's going to start going through the choke point, but he gets caught in a fungal, so he's slowed down. This Hellbat's actually doing a lot to just clear out the Broodlings repeatedly, right? And that is important because if you clear out those Broodlings, it really keeps them off the Thors and it keeps those alive for so much longer here as well. This Hellbat's having a great time. Some of them have like 30 or 40 kills, which is just like a wave of Locusts dropping down and instantly dying.
Yeah, unfortunately, as good as those Hellbats are doing for their, they were definitely doing their job. That choke, it's too much for either one of them to get through, actually. So Maru is going to reposition. It's not like that's the last mining base, although it might be in the future. So there is still room to maneuver. That's exactly what Maru does. He does need to fill up his supply. I mean, he's currently down about 25 army supply, which I don't like currently, and Lings are going to get into the main base too. Now that production could be lifted and landed elsewhere, but it is another inconvenience when things are still very scary. Things are still a lot about paying attention to your army, making sure you don't get just, abducted when you're not paying attention, or fungals and all of your ghosts you're not paying attention. So this is a huge annoyance. Reynor, the butt of the Broodlord's going to get tagged there? Yeah, okay.
A little bit of damage, nothing too important as the Lings in the base. More or less cleaned out. A couple sit in the very far top left corners. We're going to start going again. Fungal and Parasitic Bomb is quite nice on those Liberators. It will not finish them off, but it's going to leave them very low that if one more spellcast goes off, then the Liberators will be in trouble. So Maru might be about to lose a few of those expensive units as he continues to mine a lot more gas than Reynor. I imagine Reynor's gases are pretty much gone. Maru's mining a lot more. So it's just getting, again, so tough to replace a lot of these units at this point.
I mean, I know that Maru, they're both not... They both are so capable of destroying each other, obliterating each other. And there really is no point even trying to call it. It feels like Maru is the one that is pushing Reynor off the cliff, right? This is tug of war. Reynor is the one that is certainly losing, but it can instantly change, And I'm so interested in how this battle is actually going to look. I don't think we really have to worry about this nuke being what ends the game, but that is also, I suppose, a worry if Maru wanted to push that issue. Currently just using it to clear up that creep and again force the main army back.
Stop these minerals from mining a little bit as well. We drop some fungals from the south side. Maru's trying to get into this position because once he's here, he can maybe feel as though he's in a more open place or at least somewhere he can move forward from more easily. There's an abduct on a Thor, and again, that's the value of these Vipers late in this game. The efficiency they can provide is really unparalleled by anything else. The route of Broodlings is just crazy to see flying forward, but then how quickly they die as the fungal lands on some of the ghosts, and the Broodlings do capitalize just a little bit.
Yeah, the Vipers are out of energy. Those are the EMPs, but the fungals are still there, so actually really close. It's how they're using this particular point on the map. A little bit of a choke for Maru to work through, but his Ghost now looking for the snipes. They can't get close enough. Not quite. But Reynor is once again forced to back away. Now this base did not have much mining left, but it does have, I believe, about 1,500 gas, which Reynor would absolutely would love to have in his pocket, and more specifically, out of Maru's pocket.
Yeah, if Maru gets control of that and gets the extra gas, at this point we're starting to talk about the differences in the entirety of the game, right? And Reynolds just not really mining gas at all right now, I believe. He's mining 300 per minute, Maru's at 700, so it is an issue. Maru does have maybe a bit too much gas, though, as well. I mean, either way, it's just a very close game. Every little advantage you can take off your opponent is huge. And it's not like Reynolds doing anything to deny the top left from mining and taking that over himself. So it is just Maru getting more control. Reynolds needs one big fight to go his way, clean this up, push this back, and just get some more control over this bottom right yet again. Yeah,
he's continuing to lose out in the resources lost, by the way, just getting creepy. Getting to a point that is very, very scary. But yeah, Reynor absolutely wanted that gas, man. Maybe Maru never has to use it because he just keeps winning these fights little by little. But Reynor absolutely would love to replace some of these spellcasters if you end up getting taken down. Some of the units actually getting taken down to the Queens currently. The EMP's hitting the Vipers, but the Investor is still good to go. It's just letting that army through. The mech army is just literally trying to push its way through all of those Broodlords, and it might actually be able to work. Reynor is trying his best to get those key spellcast units in there and to make sure to target fire with those Broodlords. but his army is not currently necessarily winning the fight. Is he actually just going to go punch it at any point? He's trying to play it so carefully for such a blobby composition.
I know, it's just the Broods are in and out, and here come the Ghosts actually lining up some snipes, but it looks like you don't have Overseers there. A Fungal Growth goes down. What more? Lands on every single Ghost bar, a couple, but they do get away without dying. The Broodlords are trying to move in, but they are starting to sink to the Thors, but the Thor count also isn't brilliant, but the Broodlords are still standing here, and it looks like the Broods have more or less got this done. The Thors continue to be surrounded by Broodlings, and Reynor is taking out this mech army of Maru.
Oh my gosh, he actually did it. Did he finally choose that right point to be so careful with that army and finally able to find, like, to say, like, okay, let's actually do this. Let's actually go. Maybe that was exactly what Reynor was waiting for, and he chose an excellent moment to actually do it. Now, it looked like it was not even going to be that good for him. These Infestors getting fungled like that, but the one fungal really trying to turn that around. That was a good fight for Reynor, exactly what he was hoping for. He still has some bank as well to replace a couple of these units, a couple of Vipers, a couple of Broodlords, but Maru also had a bit of a bank, right? So he is rebuilding into basically pure mech right now. Thor, Hellbat, Medivac even to heal some of those Hellbats, and then also he still has 9 Ghosts. So that army is still scary to Broodlords, because Broodlords by themselves, they're quite one-dimensional. If you have the proper balance of Thors and Hellbats, the Broodlords really do need help. So while that looked like a potentially game-winning fight, the 20 supply difference that we're left with, and most of that army, actually all of it, is actually still not so confident that Reynor would just be like, okay, let's go win. He has to take this still very seriously and make sure that this army does not overextend.
Maru is buying so many minerals right now, so his army supply is going to be getting back up there. Reynor has almost no income left at this stage, but he really will retake one of the bases on the bottom side. This one's out of gas though, so it's only really opening access to more minerals. So we're talking Zerglings, and he did use the Lings there at the end very nicely to chase down some of the Thors that were trying to get away. Oh my goodness, I mean, we got Maru coming back in from this left-hand side. Thors goes Hellbats. He's already set to go again, and that's unbelievable because I feel like Reynor did so well to finally give himself a chance. He won't get to mine from this base even, and it feels like Reynor just can't quite reproduce enough, but those are some brilliant abducts. 2 Thors to go down straight away, 1 saved by the Medivacs at least. We fungal the Hellbat, stop the retreat, another great fungal. These Phalangian Infestors are doing a lot, and here come the Lings. Not a lot of Hellbats in the back, so the Lings do reasonably okay. The Thors are trying to take down the Broodlords, and I believe they're succeeding on the top side. The Broodlords are melting, with snipes going down all over them, and the Broods are starting to have to back it up, as Maru this time is winning this fight, and he's gonna go Zerg hunting, because there's only this group of Infestors and Broods left, and Reynor just will not be able to hold off this army.
Yeah, that again was kind of a multi-layered fight. The Lings coming from behind to stop all of those 5s look like it might just be a killer, but I think the power of Hellbat Thor is still kind of shining through right now. We know that mech isn't necessarily popular as far as an entire TVZ goes, but this late game composition is so intimidating to those Broodlords. Maybe a couple of Neuroparasites would change things. Maybe the Fungals hitting and then Lings only focusing on Thors would have changed things. Who knows? But the Thors were there. They were getting those punches. Eventually the Ghost even got those snipes, and Reynor is now in a terrible position. This is what was so scary about Maru remaxing, or not remaxing, but rebuilding as fast as he did. His composition could just be better, and it was that fight. Reynor, I think, yeah, knows it as well. GG. Reynor taps out after 44 minutes. Maru will win game 1.
Oh, game 1, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, what a fantastic opening game. 45 minutes of, okay, maybe not non-stop, because let's face it, we slowed down a lot. There was a lot of positioning, budding for that big fight for a while, but it was truly excellent. And Maru was in such a good spot. Reynor, gotta hate that kind of fight he took, right? Those roaches that went just a bit too far, because that fight way back when was a fight after a fantastic early game. He was so far up, he just overcommitted a bit too much, and even after that, he was looking good. But I think one of the other key moments was when all of those Banelings chased Ghosts, and they just didn't get the Ghost, because that's a lot of money to give up and to not get really anything out of. And from there, Maru does what Maru does best, right? Those were the couple of openings that gave him a way back through into this game. Gets built up, gets maxed out, and from there, it's always going to be difficult, if not somewhat impossible, to kill that mech army. Even if you have all the bases you could possibly ask for. When the highlights start at 20 minutes, CG, you know it's been a good one.
Yeah, these fights are actually crazy, man. This one in particular, the Hellbats, I guess, did their job pretty well in those front lines, if we actually kind of watch it. back, and if we could have slow-moed, that would have been great too. So that the Thors, they were able to take on those Broodlords, and they killed them pretty darn quickly.
Yeah.
So, and then there is also just the fact that those Thors are going to actually outlive everything. They're able to chase a little bit too. So, like again, like it's kind of a weird position to be in to find myself talking about more of a mech game, even though it started off with Bio. But as much as mech is not a thing right now in TVZ, one thing that does seem to be, I don't know about certain, but agreed upon is that certain positioning, right? Thor Hellbat is better than Broodlord Infestor. Like, you gotta get maybe some of those neural parasites, but if you include the ghost, if you go in the spooky mech, I suppose, right? And suddenly you don't have those spellcasters. And straight up, yeah, Hellbat Thor is gonna beat Broodlords. It is.
Yep, and that's what's so dangerous, because in a way it's like, hey, as the Zerg, this is your late game, right? It's like, you build into those Broodlords, you look for that big fight, but it's almost a fight you're not meant to win, and the Thors are just so good. It's really tough. I feel like he needed to get a bit more efficiency off the Vipers leading into it, because coming out of that, the mining was kind of getting broken down. Maybe even, do you think Reynor could do more with the Lings on a counterattack top left at some point? Because there was so much focus on that bottom right. And I appreciate you couldn't build Lings for a while. I appreciate there's so much attention going down there, but not doing anything about Maru's top left really felt like it became too much of a problem once Maru denied Reynor's bottom right.
Yeah, you know, Reynor did move his army about as much as you would, you can, I guess, with an army like that. So we had multiple times where the map would flip. Some would be focused on the top left, and then they focus on the bottom right. But if you really think about what we highlight for Reynor's strengths here, his multitasking, his aggressiveness, his ability to intercept his opponent at the exact right moment, these Lings, more, you know, usually is what he's using. There was really very little of that in that game. So perhaps we reimagine maybe 25-minute, 30-minute point in the game. And instead of just blobs of armies moving around, Reynor's able to highlight that use of his Lings, get the Nidus Swarm, pop out those cracklings, get to the top left, kill that orbital, get that planetary. Then maybe that is a better game for him, more comfortable game for him. But I think just in general, we know that Zerg's going to get more uncomfortable the longer the game goes against Maru. They just they see kind of that potential coming in, and with Maru especially, they know it's very real that they could let a game like this go.
Yeah, this fight was the one that Reynor won, and he didn't have a way to stop Maru or to push across quickly enough to take advantage of it, and Maru just got that slow rebuild going, because again, he had income still coming in. Reynor's rebuild was quick, but like I say, you can't take those broods just straight across the map. As we are getting ourselves ready for game number 2, players are back at their PCs. Readying up for inside and out. I mean, we just go from big to small here, ZG. So the map completely different. Way less bases on this map. So even if they want to split it, it's probably not going to reach 45 minutes anyway. And if it does, there's not going to be a mineral left on the map. So we are looking for a very different game number 2 here, most likely. I mean, Reynor's just got to reset and say, hey, look, I played fantastic the first 10, 15 minutes of this game at the very least. And a lot of the time, that's good enough. I just have to repeat that and then just do that a little bit better in the mid game.
And that's also the problem of knowing that the looming late game is on the way, is that you might be a little overeager, thinking like, I need to end the game right where I have my advantage. But Reynor kind of tried, and it did not work out. Let's see if he can get a similar advantage and actually push it through to a victory on inside and out. In the bottom left for Kaizi Gaming, he is Reynor.
In the top right of inside and out, we have up 1-0 from Onside Gaming, the blue Terran, the king of GSL, Maru.
It just could not have really gone better for Reynor in the last game, man. For the first 10 minutes, for the first 7 minutes, I guess. It just, it's actually mostly what I'm thinking of is just Reynor probably thought that he was golden, that he had done everything correctly. Because I think as soon as he saw the 2 factories, not only did he know it was going to be the blue flame, but I think he would be able to then determine that Maru was going to do, if not exactly the same thing, very similar thing to what he did versus Sue. So he was expecting everything. And with that expectation came also with the mechanics, came that pretty much perfect defense against the Hellions and the Widow Mines and anything else that Maru tried to throw at him. And you think that's happening, and you think you're just going to win the game with whatever you choose to do, especially as, you know, a professional gamer who's not going to get supply blocked a billion times, you know? So I feel like that'd be a very frustrating game for Reynor, and perhaps he knew he was a little overconfident as soon as those roaches did not kill Maru, but it does start to plant that seed in your brain. Well, did everything kind of perfectly against that build, and I do it again. Do I still lose?
Yeah. No, it's really tough. I mean, I feel like that's one of the rougher losses you can take, right? It's long, you don't come out with anything. But it's not like you were playing off the back foot the entire time until you get back in. You were meant to be the player making all the moves. You were meant to be the player in control of that game. It's really, really tough, and let's see what happens in game number 2. Do you think there's any chance? I mean, I know we already saw Blue Flame Hellions. How aggressive do you think Maru keeps going in these games now? Do you think he keeps hitting with different openers? Do you think he plays a bit more passively, kind of letting it go late game?
No, I think he's going to do different openers. I mean, I'm kind of cheating a little bit because as soon as I saw that second gas, I was like, oh, okay, he's going to do something aggressive again. Still reactor to Marines, too. There's like a lot of different openings that Terrans can do, even though you might still see a lot of best of 5 still be centered around even 3 CC builds. But I think Maru is a type of guy who will mix things up. So it's not going to be maybe as crazy as, I don't know, Gumiho, I guess. One of the weirder Terrans I can think of. But bringing in some of the Beyond builds, you know, little pokes and prods, a medevac where you don't really expect it as the Zerg. I can definitely see Maru doing that. And of course, he could even bring out the Battlecruiser build that he did use effectively at Katowice for about half the Zergs. And then the Zergs started to figure it out, kind of Reynor included. Yeah,
that Battlecruiser build's a fun one because it does feel like it gets figured out. But then, you know, you throw it in out of nowhere, and if you catch your opponent off guard, especially, you can get a lot done. There's a couple lings over here are getting chipped out, and they will go down. We lose an Overlord at the front as well. These few Marines poking forward early. And Maru is already, feels like, getting more unit kills the early game now than he did in the last game altogether. So, yeah, Maru having a bit of a better first few minutes here. Armory on the way because he's setting up into Widow Mines. It's likely to mean we just want that cloaking on the Widow Mines. And then we go from there with a bunch of Widow Mine drops, just trying to be aggressive and trying to get damage done. And again, Reynor has to be absolutely on point to defend against this. And I feel like doing that is so tough when you've just come out of a drain in game number 1.
That's very true. But I do think that, you know, Reynor is the type of person who does get excited by the multitasking that's pushed on him. The faster the game goes, the more that he will want to keep pace with it, where some of the people, they can kind of almost get defeated in their eagerness, I suppose. But no, Reynor just gets more and more eager the more that he's tasked with defenses. So I think this is not going to do particularly well, but it is a different opener. Reynor, as I had said, gotten such a great scout that he really could predict the next steps because Maru was doing a similar build to GSL. This time around, Reynor doesn't have that full-on 100% knowledge. This Widowmine going into the main base, it's going to be scouted by an Overlord, but just because he doesn't expect it, maybe it can do more damage. Well, he's dealing with it quite well currently.
Yep, one Widowmine goes down instantly. The next one is going to get split from. And the other one went off on just very little. There's one natural as well. Doesn't quite get the Spore Crawler trick down to maybe try and dodge that shot, but 3 drones for, well, 3 Widow Mines. Not bad. One Widow Mine gets away, and a hurt Medevac 2. Probably not going to come back anytime shortly. Ooh, one Widow Mine still in the base. Might try and do something.
Oh, yeah. Go to the right. Yeah.
For the high ground. I like it. Huge. Spores on the way, but it's about to fire.
Oh, there you go.
Boom.
Good reaction, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, nicely done. Now, Hellbat push off to the right side. Not really a dedicated Hellbat push. We had all those Widow Mines, right? But something to add another point of damage. Banelings are prepared, however, and the Liberator in the main base is also being handled. Reynor, once again, displaying some world-class defense, but Maru, just like last game, maybe the aggression doesn't work out, but does that matter in the context of the entire game? The potential 20, 30-minute game? Maybe not, because then Maru just continued on, got to 4 bases last time, and played it from there. So, again, I want to say that Reynor's doing an excellent job. Maru keeping pace on the macro front for sure, as his barracks, as his upgrades. I think he's still going to be okay, even though, again, any other Terran, I'd be really worried after this opener.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, usually we're talking about, especially when Ren was involved, it's like, oh, God, here we go. He's just going to come and crush them in a little while. But, yeah, with Maru, we already saw what he can do, playing off the back foot. And now, I mean, to be honest, look at it. He's got faster upgrades as well. Love that. So that's 1-1 he can utilize at certain times of this. His stim will be done. And he still has a few of these Hellions alive as Hellbats, so now he can use those to tank a little bit to make something happen here as well. So I like it, honestly, for Maru. Like, I know it wasn't ideal and maybe didn't get the damage he's looking for, but it could be much worse as well. He could have lost every Hellion in the process of this. As right now we get rid of some Group Tumors, we'll split these Hellions, and that actually does okay at soaking up some Banes.
Yep. Terran's going to be pretty happy with that. Minerals for gas. The minerals that really are going to go elsewhere in this game. These Hellbats are going to be just used to do, I guess, exactly that. Kind of, you know, have a presence, potentially get a couple of Banelings explode on them, but it's so much more about the Marine tank follow-up that Maru is currently heading out to do. 7 minutes, about the time that any Zerg player is going to expect that next wave, unless they have taken a substantial lead like that last game. So Reynor should be building up once again. His problem for this push is that he's not going to have, of course, any upgrades, but then especially not going to have that Baneling speed. So that can sometimes be tricky. The Reynor has shown great defense against that particular problem as well. He's also adding in a Spire, so that is 200 away from the front lines, but with Creep, Queens, and that many even still slow Banelings, he's fine.
Yep, the Queen's going through to push that back. A few SCVs have fallen, and we are going to get a little drop-a-load action going as well, so I like this. Reynor adding just a little bit of extra aggression here and there, just to try and get something done early, just try and slow Maru down. This tank gets in position over here, though, and that's quite a nice place to play from, as we are going to start knocking on those Queens. The Spore Crawler goes down. We are in range now off the hatchery. That's just going to be seeing another tank coming across. So, I mean, Maru's really committed to this position here.
Yeah, you know, I was expecting that tank in the nook there, but the one on the high ground as well, yeah, just way too much. And Reynor realized that was going to be too much to handle, so he does his trademark little harassment here. Overload on the main base, going to drop out some Lings. The natural kind of a no-go with the Marines tucked into the choke, but the third base is also open. Meanwhile, Maru went a little too far on a creep, and the Banelings got their speed at the exact right time to defend against this. And the Marines are, a lot of them, taken down anyways. More Banelings will come forward and help clean that out. It has been a bit of a trade, right? Reynor lost drones, he lost that hatchery, he had to spend all those Banelings to actually clean that up, but they were very, very good Banelings. But Maru also lost 13 SCVs. I think it has been pushed back pretty well. I don't know how much longer he really wants to stay out on this map here. And Reynor still has that base in the bottom right building. It is only halfway done, though. That was not actually a situation where he had a 4th and a 5th kind of at the same time. So that is absolutely the main concern. Reynor's going to be looking for a bit more, at least grab this tank, and then maybe in the future some more run-bys. Or maybe make those mutas. He has been banking quite a bit.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the lava. That's the issue. He lost the base, and obviously then you're losing some of your production. And that's why, especially with Ling Bane, you're just kind of stuck. And even after building those mutas, he's still got minerals in the bank, right? So that's been one of the struggles for him. And gotta say, that run by before was so critical, not just for the damage it did, but for distracting Maru, because otherwise that attack might have never gotten cleaned up if Maru was a bit more just particular about where exactly he was putting it. We are going to see a stim into the bottom right, though. He's going to try for this hatchery. The Bane's on their way. They must save this hatch right now. You can't lose the 4th base a second time, surely, as we do see the Marines forced to split up, and it will look as though we have defended this base. We do get the first Titan of mutas as well, so Maru can set up turrets in advance to deal with these right now.
Absolutely agreed on the Baneling front, by the way, on the left side. I think this game might already be over in that case, but Reynor has opened up an opportunity to perhaps defend this new 4th base, grabbing his 5th back, if you will, and then the mutas finally have something to say on the other side of the map, which might get a tank, might just kill a couple of SCVs, but again, also threatening to distract Maru, so Maru makes a mistake against the Banelings on the front line. He does end up grabbing that base. Reynor is going to have to play, I guess, kind of the refugee Zerg a little bit here. Just go left and right, try and find the new base, but oh, the mutas! No, I do not believe he really wanted to do that.
No, when you lose a bunch of mutas like that, that's absolutely not the point. I think Reynor's getting a little bit flustered, right? It's not often someone outspeeds him or makes him, you know, make mistakes like this, but that is not something you expect out of Reynor. In a game where he's playing just a little behind, every little bit of gas and every little muta could make the difference in just doing that bit of extra damage to drag you back in. He is getting some SCVs right now, and he is finding some damage as Maru is attempting to take and secure a 4th base. So he's getting some damage done. But again, it's just so sad to lose so many of those mutas because it could have been money spent elsewhere. The Lings get caught immediately, and Maru for a second was like, oh god, is this bad for me? He's like, actually, no, it's okay.
Yeah. 6 mutas dying is a really big deal. But, you know, Reynor has been handling things well enough that he even still has a 20 supply lead. I keep looking at that supply and I'm always like, really? Really? Because, like, the feeling of this game doesn't feel so great for the Zerg. And I do think that is just credit to Reynor for dealing with things as well as he had, for the mistake from Maru on the left side with that many Marines. Because, yeah, maybe the game is over if those don't die. But I will say that Maru hasn't really achieved his final form, right? Maru might not be taking the supply lead or actually killing Reynor here, but he does have +3 attack about halfway done, 4 bases set up, and when he maxes out, Reynor will have trouble actually defeating such an army. So we're going to once again have to go back to the run buys, the buying time. but we know he's very good at that. He has certainly played a couple of TVZs at this tournament, I believe, certainly recently, where we just thought he was dead, based around Ling, Bane, Ling, Muta, and he was fine.
Yeah, his ability to move and play so quickly does give him a lot of potential to get back in game for Ling, Bane, Muta, right? Even if you're not in a great spot, when you've just kind of got that ability to play so quick, yeah, you can create opportunities that other Zergs can't necessarily do, so that's what he's got to kind of play around right now. I mean, Maru's about to power up into 3-3 upgrades. Reynor's own Hive is lagging behind a little bit. I mean, that's fairly natural when you're playing Mutas, that you're going to be a bit later to Hive. You've got Marines already unloading the main base. That preparation from Maru to just say, nuh-uh, these Mutas don't get to just run in here and have their fun. And I love that he's introducing a Thor too. In fact, he's already got 2 going into number 3 into the army. It just makes it so tough for those Mutas just to kind of clump up and kind of go near the army, dive in and help out with fights, because the Thor damage just does a lot, and they can actually tank a lot as well.
Reynor has done a lot to really not just come back in this game potentially, but then also just to take maybe even a lead in a sense. He is, he's pushed Maru back to the defensive position, which, Maru is great at, but does mean we're going to just increase the length of this game. Might fare Maru might make opportunities for Reynor's Ling Baneling to actually find an opening, which is exactly what he's trying to do right now. That seems a bit risky, though. The Thors and the SimCity providing a block against those Banelings. The Reynor is going to back away, but he's also replaced so much of the creep spread. When his other 4th died, his 5th had no creep spread. That was a big concern, but Maru did not get that follow-up push to really cut the head off the snake. And now the snake is, it's venomous, man. It's biting back at him and is doing a lot of damage to the economy. The SCD is forced to retreat. That tank might die. No, he's not going to go for it, as Maru has done a great job splitting his Marines to help defend. And Maru's on his way to Ghosts, which might seem a little over-eager, but they actually can also help deal with the Mutas to a degree. If they get that snipe on them, they will get them in one shot.
Yep. No, it's nice to just kind of get those ready as well, because you're expecting the Ultras at some point too, right? That's the natural next step when you're playing Ling Bane Muta. Ultras are a big stepping stone into anything else that you want to do. Trying to go lurks off this is just a little bit too crazy. It's a little bit too vulnerable. The Ultras, like I said, a bit of a stepping stone. And so, yeah, the Ghosts are kind of just an expectation of Ultras as well. So it can work. You don't want to go too many, because if he does just stay kind of like mass Ling Bane, Ghosts then get overrun. But introducing a few already, it just makes his own transition more easy further down the line, as the Ling Bane can't go through that choke point.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly summed up there. If you go too quickly into Ghosts and you're not even quite, well defended enough on the other ports of the army, then yeah, you could absolutely be overrun. But Maru does do an excellent job of making sure that all of his bases are protected by a couple of tanks. Some SimCity really works out well for him as well. So he can just kind of start that next step in TVZ, which then Reynor would kind of almost be catching up on if he does try and force Ultras into the play. They will be met with already a handful of Ghosts. Maru's trying to expand quite a bit, but he is facing the more mobile armies. That is dangerous, but this is also a dangerous push in from our Zerg. So many Banelings do get some connections, but that was like all Banelings. So at some point, they're just all going to explode, and then what are you left over with? I mean, in this case, a big old remax. So 96 Lings are on the way, but there wasn't any continuation. The Mutas did find that left side. The snipes are coming down now, so the Mutas are finally dying, but Maru did take a lot more of those Banelings to the face than I was anticipating. Not quite splitting at the last second, focused elsewhere. But I guess all the Mutas are bye-bye now.
Yep, every single Muta is basically getting sniped down. The Mutalist count that remains is just not really scary. Reynor is Reynor, so he'll do as much as he can with even just a couple, but yeah, he's not even looking to rebuild them. He's just going more Lings and Ultras and Banes, and just look as though he wants to just go capitalize on the fact that he did wipe out a good portion of Maru's army. Maru's economy right now, only 60 workers. If he can't deal with this incoming attack too well and he loses more eco, rebuilding after this might become a problem. And these SCVs immediately going down. Reynor is going to strike hard already, and now he's got Banes rolling at those Ghosts. And is this maybe going to be a few too many Ghosts like we talked about? Those Banes still rolling up the ramp, though. That was single file, and they were easily taken out.
Yeah. Lings are not going to try and follow that one up at all. 21 SCVs did die, but Maru was able to save the base. He does technically still have that top left as well, which, Reynor knows about, but then you end up using the Mutas in a different fashion. I thought they were going to go after it. They did not. That's a sad drone. There we go. The Lings are going after it now, and it's just totally unprotected. So I really didn't think that Maru was going to be able to get away with that. But Maru has taken some losses, and this base will go down, but he's almost at a stable supply. Can take another good fight. Once again, running away from a huge number of banelings. The Ghost Cloak up, hopefully trying to mitigate the damage. One tank also trying to help. I think that's the only tank that Maru has right now, but the supply is plummeting. Every time that he runs away like that, a lot of his other units are dying. His Ghosts aren't actually firing, and his economy is being hit on multiple fronts.
Yeah, being restricted to only 4 bases, can't really break out of this just yet. And Reynor is just going to keep on going again and again with these reinforcements. He's got money to keep on spending. He's got all of the economy in his favor. Creep spread to get him across the map quickly, and it's already a short map, so these attacks are just so quick to come. 63 banelings morphing in. There's already 8 morphed in on the map, so that's 70 banelings about to go rolling at Maru. And Maru's army supply is decent, but he just can't keep losing economy and expecting to rebuild this army. And Reynor can rebuild this army again and again. So let's see what Maru does this time. As once again, those Ghosts are going to be on retreat. It feels like they've done nothing else for a little while. The Ultras are cleaning up the front lines as well. And now those Banes will force the Ghosts to split. They're going to start getting a couple of kills, actually. So those Banes are delivering. And Maru's supply looks irrecoverable in this position.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So much of it in medevacs as well. So really not true. You know, in the last game, we saw those Ghosts barely survive. Oh, the burrow banelings. Oh, okay, we'll pay attention to that. Oh, they're just going to burrow anyways. I mean, you're going to go for the kill. Like, any way that Reynor wants, he will be able to end this game. And he's just going to shove Ling Ultra down Maru's natural. And that will cut the tap out. Reynor fights back 1-1. But another game where that, you know, you take the beginning of the game and the end of the game, I guess maybe a little bit more the mid-game here too, and it just feels like, you know, there was points where Maru was supposed to win, where Reynor was actually the one on the back foot, and there was the very beginning, where Reynor was doing very well. It just is, it's a little bit more of a poking and prodding and swifting back and forth than I was expecting, and then the player that I am kind of starting to get convinced might lose, they just bounce back so hard. Reynor, once he actually got those 4 bases up and running, he was just like smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, it's impressive what he can do with Ling Bei Muta. You know, it's not something we see all of the time nowadays. You're like, oh, it's not as good. It's going lurkers and stuff. This was a huge moment. And the reason Maru's just not in position here, not ready to fight, is because he's paying attention to not just the counterattack, which was going well initially because he blocked it on the natural, but also the drop in the main was something else he had to worry about suddenly. And that combo, I think, just made him go too far on creep, like you said at the time. And once he's too far on creep, there's no real recovery from that. There's no micro that can save you to that many Banes that were showing up. So it was just a great kind of triple punch from Reynor, and he caught Maru off guard. And from there, that was the last time Maru really looked competitive in this game. He got maxed, he cleaned out the mutas, but only to die to everything else that was being built.
Yeah, and even after just that, you know, it was literally only banelings, but it was like 70 of them. I actually got some connections. The remax at that point was just so easy for Reynor. He had really totally engulfed the map, taken a ton of hatcheries, had plenty of minerals, gas, and larva to actually follow up with and, again, suffocate Maru. This is the biggest difference, I guess, when Reynor last game couldn't quite kill Maru. We kind of saw the rest of the game coming to an extent, but that time around, it was actually very much more successful. Huge gaps of supply at the end of Reynor's attacks, and he just got that feeling that he would be able to carry through, which he actually did, despite Maru really trying his best to hold on. Again, good splits, trying to get all of his positioning going, but I think in that game, a lot of what he was missing was, like, he didn't have the same tank count, first of all, so there was like 2 tanks in some of those engagements, 1 actually in one of them, and then not a whole lot of SimCity. Like, he was clearly in the, like, teenage stage of Maru defense.
Yeah, no, he just wasn't quite set up to where he loves to be at, and obviously that's nice, Reynor, taking him down before he reaches full strength, right? That's definitely something I think that you can say is definitely very powerful to do, definitely a way to play this. We're all tied up 1-1, best of 5. Reynor's just limped off to the bathroom, so a few moments before we continue through. The winner of this plays Creator in the semi-finals, of course. That will be at the second semi-final up today. And we've already got the top semi-final set, Hero versus Dark. Hero's finally going to get to play some more of that awesome PvZ. And yeah, I mean, can we have Hero go all the way? It'd be really cool. I honestly, personally, because Hero and Reynor keep talking about wanting to play each other, I've been kind of cheering for that Hero-Reynor finals, you know? Especially once Clem went down, I was like, man, I feel like that's what I really want to see. We're a long way from it still, yes, but that'd be freaking cool.
That would be cool, but a Hero-Maru final also would be cool.
Hero-Maru? Do you think Hero can do it, though?
Can beat Dark or beat Maru?
Maru.
Okay, so you think he can win Valencia if he's up against Maru? I don't know, man. Their GSL games were so fun
Yeah.
that I want to say yes, but then Hero is so, I mean, kind of undependable in a sense. Like sometimes it looks brilliant, sometimes it doesn't, right? So I honestly could not predict that one. I just know the games would be fun is mostly what I was going off of.
That's true.
But
I mean, Heroes games, how can Heroes games not be fun? You don't know what he's going to do next.
yeah, he's definitely made us a little biased. It's like, yeah, Dark could also win that semifinal. That would be cool, I suppose. Obviously, Dark Maru would be great. Yeah. I think people might kind of be like, oh, a ZVZ finals. If I said Dark Reynor, then...
But would it be ZVZ? Would Reynor not crank out the Protoss for a game or two? He might.
That's actually a point, yeah.
Unlike like on maps that particularly good PVZ, he might crank it out if he's up there.
And then clearly we're not talking about Creator, but you know we just saw him take a victory against Neve, and he was so emotional in a good way. He was so excited about it that everyone's just becoming more and more a fan of the guy. Be excellent for him to kind of have a low point with his current GSL performance, and then actually just get Valencia. That would be really cool. So basically what we're saying is...
whatever happens, it's going to be good, right? Just make sure the games are good. Maru and Reynor kind of setting the stage for that to continue here. 1-1, we've been here over an hour. It's turned into quite the series. Looks like Reynor's back, so we should be ready in a moment for this game number 3. We're on to Tropical Sacrifice, Zombie Grub. There's another of the bigger ones. It really is, so we'll see what goes down. I think there's a lot of positions the Terrans can take quite nicely on this map, though, with ledges and stuff, so we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how it pans out for the TVZ. Holding on in.
Yep. Even slightly bigger rush distance-wise compared to our first map. That might encourage another 40-minute game. We shall see. So we get into Game 3 finally. It is all tied up in this quarterfinal series. In the bottom left of Tropical Sacrifice, he is Kaisi Gaming's Reynor.
In the top right from On-Site Gaming, this is Maru.
Loving the setup in this best of 5, man. Terran vs. Zerg, excellent. Maru, excellent. Reynor, excellent. Korean vs. non-Korean, still excellent storyline for StarCraft.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Got to write it in there, right?
Nice.
Gotta try.
Yeah. And just thinking of the way that their styles do kind of play out there, Reynor, once he got the 4th base up, once he was in the full swing of a mid-game that I think he is really most comfortable at, which is Ling Baneling and Mutas, or maybe just Ling Baneling in the future. He looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
It was, what even happened before that? Was he in trouble? Yeah, he kind of was. And yes, Maru losing those Marines was certainly problematic. It still was a troublesome position for Reynor, but yeah, once the 4 bases came online, he was good to go. And then for Maru, the late game, that is really the scariest part. Even though that last game was scary in the mid game, he still has all these early game builds that are, potentially going to really catch Reynor off guard one of these days. For Maru, I think it's just 100%. Don't let him get to the late game for Reynor. Reynor does not want to play 40 minutes again.
No, I do not think Reynor wants to go that at all. He said, he did say in the little pre-match interview as well, please move out, please attack me, please do things.
Yes.
And it's like, you got your wish in game number 2, and it went well for you. So I was like, maybe I will go back to just not moving out, frustrate you. Play those slow games, because again, those slow games, it takes away what Reynor likes to do best, right? Which is be everywhere, which is be super active.
Yeah.
That's where Reynor excels, and his late game control is brilliant as well.
Yes, and I also think to that point about the mid game, we're like talking about this, how good the last game went for Reynor once he got in the full swing of things. Well, the first game, he did great in the early game, right?
Yeah.
He defended perfectly, and he got to the mid game, so why didn't that go so well, Zombie Grub Morty? Well, I actually kind of blame Roaches.
Yeah.
I mean, every Zerg player that we have in the professional scene can play Roaches, can play Ling Baneling, can play Mutas, but I do think that Dark might be the only one that I consider could be better with Roaches. Everyone else, I'd say more flexibility, more potential in Ling Baneling, and especially Reynor. So I think that was actually a unintended difference, unintended consequence of Maru's opener is that he kind of forced Reynor to do Roaches.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's something that opening kind of excels at, right? Because you kind of need Roaches, because what if it's mech afterwards, right? And it's Blue Flame Hellions. But yeah, if you can force your kind of opponent into Roaches, and then they're not kind of set up as quickly onto the things that usually is good with, even better, more reason to do it now. I probably can't crank it out every game, but yeah, no, it's definitely a benefit that we never really, I suppose, talked about, the build effect in the way that Reynor was set up to capitalize.
Yeah. And now we are once again witnessing Maru focusing on Maru's build order, as Reynor has not thrown down anything cheesy. And I don't really expect him to either. I think he is just looking to thrive in that mid game, respond correctly to whatever Maru has to throw at him. And Reynor does once again have kind of the trickier Overlord in the back, so he would be able to dive in, and that's exactly what he's going to do to see a third CC build. So kind of one of our standard builds that isn't just 3 CC, starport or macro builds.
Yep, just going to get full confirmation that he is going to back Warrior 3 over just in case that isn't a Viking. Then maybe the Overlord gets to stay alive, right? So nice just to try and do every little thing. It is a Viking, so the Viking can go deal with it, but even then it's going to take the Viking a few moments longer to actually clean that out. Yeah. And that just takes a little bit longer for then the Viking to be elsewhere on the map, or the Viking could just fly past. No, not going to do.
I do wonder if, seeing that it is a Viking, Reynor is going to, and I think he is, be more alerted as to what's behind it. If it was a Liberator, then Reynor's probably just like, oh yeah, it's going to be like stim that added on and just a little bit of harassment and so on and so forth. But no, that Viking clearing that out, awfully suspicious. And what usually happens afterwards? Yeah, a lot of the time it is going to be a fusion core. So I think Reynor is already anticipating that. Not by seeing the Roachborn put down, by the way, guys. Obviously, that doesn't help with a potential battlecruiser. But he's still building Queens, which Zergs do. But the Roachborn, I think, specifically helps with the Hellions that are often more of the wombo in the combo. It's like the battlecruiser like pulls those Queens away, and you're like, well, I dealt with a battlecruiser, I'm fine. But the Hellions are usually the ones that kind of sneak in there and get the damage done. By having Roaches just stationed there, no-brainer defense.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's definitely one of those situations where I feel like you can really get things get out of control because you pull one thing one way, the other's the other. So Roaches straight away, great setup. Then, of course, you get that lair online quickly, get to the Spire, get some Corruptors up so you can start pushing back those BCs, especially as Maru drops down additional factories and confirms for us that he is indeed going to play some mech.
Oh, nice. We threw it out there, and I just really had no strong opinions on whether we would see it or not, but I just love the idea that it could happen. New maps, Maru throwing out something that he has played before. It's not like he's new to mech. He does, I think, sometimes even cause other Terrans to reevaluate, go, hey, okay, wait a minute, is mech actually a thing? So really cool to see it here. I was checking Reynor's vision, and as I'd said, he was already predicting the battlecruiser based off the opener. He also only saw that third gas, but even then at the time that he took it, might have also hinted to Reynor it is actually going to be follow-up mech, because you can follow up from a battlecruiser opener to bio. Both options would have been viable. I think Reynor already correctly suspicious. It is going to be a mech follow-up. So far, handling the battlecruiser totally fine. And then the Hellions, like I was talking about, usually a little more dangerous. The drones do have to pull away temporarily, but the Roaches just won't die to them, so they will be even body blocking them often.
I kind of felt that the Hellions could have maybe just gone through because they were in the mineral line and the Roaches were to the right, the drones had gone up top. It was like that 50-50 moment of maybe he could have just gone and chased, but I think he prefers to be safer and just keep the Hellions back on the map because they can do exactly this now. Get rid of a little bit more creep spread. So he will just be doing that. Reynor continues to set up as we expect now. This map, I think, is one where Reynor might just be forced to play a later game against this. A lot of the time they try and bust with Roach, Ravager, Corruptor, but this map has a high ground 4th and 3rd base. There's not really going to be an exposed Maru here. Pretty much every one of those bases has at least a significant choke or at least ramps leading up into it. I just don't really see that Reynor could be aggressive into those positions and be successful.
That's a very good point. Thinking about the attack paths on some of the new maps, very good point. And I think that is true, too. I think Maru is going to be taking that into account, saying that even if this guy does figure me out and he does try to push me, then I can still have these options to defend with. But Reynor, I think, has figured this out about as quickly as possible, and I think he's setting up for potential bust. So maybe just having every duck in a row here might still work out better for Reynor. I don't know about bust is the right word, but he might start trying to actually push in and get some damage done. So the Corruptors are on the way. He didn't, again, misassume that it was going to be one battlecruiser in a stem, though. He figured it was going to be more, as that is what happens with mech. So the Corruptors take care of the battlecruisers. Roach Ravager might eventually pop out and try and start at least limiting the 4th base. But I think Maru is going to be very cautious about taking that in particular. He knows that he hasn't really done anything to Reynor, and an actual bust would be very difficult to still hold.
Yeah, absolutely. Infestation Pit is finishing up, so at least Reynor is looking to tech for the most part here. Oh, just go straight to Swarm Hose.
Okay.
That's not been like the most kind of common way to play against mech, and especially against BCs, because BCs can sit on the Swarm Host a little bit sometimes. That's definitely going to set us up for something a little bit interesting here. He's got great creep across the map, though. The Swarm Host don't even need a Nidus. They can just waltz up to outside the third base and then just drop some Locusts in.
Yeah. You know, honestly, if this was Solar, I think I would have given Swarm Host a thought. I really did not when it came to Reynor. I really legit did not, despite seeing absolutely no Roaches produced. That's it's on me. But yeah, Swarm Hosts, this could be something that Maru's also not necessarily expecting, but he has had to deal with this. I believe it was actually Maru versus Solar where we saw that mech kind of make a play back into the meta, but kind of not, and then there was some bad Swarm Host usage against it, and so on and so forth. But Maru does have to figure it out just to make sure that he's in correct position. So far, he's seen not much of a Roach army, so that kind of leads to two pathways, right? Either Swarm Hosts or maybe real high technology, which he could even scan the main and see if there's or natural rather, and see there's no hive. But now he figures it's Swarm Hosts. There you go. There's the scan. Blue Flame is almost done, which is excellent. But where are those Hellbats?
Yep, let's see them. The Hellions coming through. They don't have Blue Flame for a few more moments, so this is going to be a nice little first attack. Corruptors going to force the BCs to start teleporting out of here back to safety. We got rid of one of the tanks there, because these Corruptors will just do what they can. Now they kind of want to hunt down those BCs. If they can find them, of course, right now, then they can probably get the kills, but they are down to the south. Not in the main, but the main's a cool place to go, because you can do exactly this. Caustic Spray down some production, and Reynor going to start getting some damage in there, and just waiting for his Swarm Host to come back off cooldown. Yeah,
the Hellions, you know, they're not usually something we really focus on, because they're so easy to replace, but you gotta be a little careful. You can't just lose them and have nothing defending your tanks against the Swarm Host volley. So Maru's very mindful of that, transforms the Hellbats as well. Missile turrets coming up. I mean, they're going to like basically eat some of the shots and even kind of provide some Sim City to help against those Locusts. So it's kind of working out there. And Maru is still stable on 4 bases, still has his battlecruisers repaired, by the way. And now with adding in those Cyclones, he can, 1, further defend his battlecruisers against those Corruptors, and 2, do a little bit more of a chase, do a little bit more of a punish. If Reynor pops all the Locusts, doesn't do a whole lot of damage, then tries to retreat, the Cyclones will try and go after him.
Yeah, Corrupt kind of has to be careful. There's only 10 of them. You know, you say your Modul's off and that's 7, and that doesn't feel like a lot. And if you lose out on the Corruptors, then you do also have that chase down on the Swarm Host, like you're saying. So something to be careful of as Maru continues to sit defensively. Reynor will send another wave forward, teching up into all sorts behind this, further upgrades and all of that. But for now, he's actually going to run up here. The Swarm Host even coming up the ramp as well. They want to really get involved. They want to see how their Locusts do. Unfortunately, not very excitingly, they just kind of die.
It's like a child watching, or a mom watch their child on the first day of school. Child just like trips in front of the whole class. And you're like, oh no, not my child, go away. No. Swarm Hosts are embarrassed by that one. Not so good, yeah. But it's like, you know, we could argue, like, does it even matter? Swarm Host going to another attack? Yeah, of course it matters, because every time you don't do damage with that means that Maru is going to further develop his army, so maybe more upgrades, maybe a better composition, further expand as well, then eventually actually feel confident enough to move out against a bad Locust wave, which, you know, could be on the way. So far, it is still Reynor providing the aggression. Ooh.
That one BC just about gets out of there. Here comes some of these Locusts. Target fight onto different tanks as well, so they land in different places. Love to see that. We do clean it up. Reynor trying to get the most out of this as possible. The resources lost, though, by the way, is very even. 5k to 5k. I mean, it's not exactly what you're looking for when you're playing Swarm Hosts. And eventually, Maru might just feel good enough to start pushing out. If he gets one good fight, push the Locust back, then you chase the Swarm Hosts down. And then what are you actually ever going to do to kill this army of Maru? Because I don't feel like there is anything right now that's necessarily set up to kill this army of Maru.
Yeah, again, and I just don't think this is where... I mean, Reynor's at 99% I feel with the style, so it's not that he's bad with it, it's just he's not exactly where he's going to thrive. He's facing mech, first of all, just in the general sense, you didn't kill the guy, so you have to face late game mech. But then also a Swarm Host, which sometimes they do get that good Locust wave. The first couple are excellent, and the mech player's really struggling. In a game like this, where I feel like Maru's handled it really, really well, Reynor is once again looking down the barrel of not a gun, but a late game Maru.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not really much you can do to stop this late game getting established because these Locusts just are not really progressing. And now he's starting to stretch out down to the bottom right. He's got an extra BC that he's brought into play. He's building one of those at a time. And that really means that as Yamato down the Swarm Host here, It just means that he's able to keep getting so much done. Teleport back, get one of those repaired. Here come the Locusts again, in the same position to start dealing some damage to them. The missile turrets again going to help to just reduce those numbers. But you get a single siege tank, and that's all the Locusts achieve in this entire wave.
I really do expect more from Swarm Hosts, but they are still perhaps opening up opportunities for something like this a little bit more. Okay, the SCVs, I thought were going to be pulled at the exact wrong time. They are fine. And I really like that Maru also went there for an orbital. You know, planetaries are almost a habit. They're automatic for the past third base spaces. But against Swarm Hosts, yeah, I think orbital is the way to go. Even though there are other threats like the Banelings we see here. I like it.
And those Bane's going to try and go in after a Hellion Cyclone. Oh, you do see Maru just kiting back away from that again, having established a 5th base bottom right. His economy is absolutely fine for the foreseeable future. Here comes another wave of those Locusts. Ghosts want to get out of there. They want to keep it alive right now with some Banes here as well. This might be a bit scary, a bit more committed in for Reynor than it has been before. We drop a few snipes, and the Ghosts trying to hold on their own on that ramp.
Yeah, the Banelings got awfully close to the Cyclones and the friendly fire as well. I thought everything was about to explode before our eyes, but nope, they mostly survived, but very, very injured. And we do have the battle cruisers also still in play. All 5 once again healthy. Got Yamato, got teleports. Not enough corruptors to really threaten to, you know, one-shot them or anything like that. So easy enough micro. And in fact, with 5 battle cruisers, we might have come into kind of a potential problem of Zerg when they're up against this, where they do kind of underestimate that threat.
Yeah.
So now the Corruptors aren't enough. The Queens have to be pulled back. More Corruptors have to be made. And the Battle Cruisers take really good trades. Reynor is going to do something on the front lines once again, and we are missing Hellbats this time around, so the teleport has to happen not just to save the Battle Cruisers, which they do not, as the Corrosive Bile gets 2 of them, but also to help out back on the defense. Maru finally showing some weakness.
Finally, just as he was looking good as well, right? He gets that bottom base, he was trading good. And then teleporting home, it seems like a cool play, but Reynor sees the timing of it. Boom, double kill on the BC with the Corrosive Biles. Nicely placed. I mean, just great targeting. And Reynor still full of money. Maru, I mean, still has the worker count right. 82 workers here, mining away. Just is losing a fair amount. You know, resources lost now. Still kind of even. I'm genuinely surprised by how even resources lost has turned out to be.
I mean, 22 Corruptors have died in this game.
I guess that's where it is. The Battlecruiser attacks, right?
I guess so. The Battlecruisers are once again helping out here. The Corruptors aren't even going after them, actually. Reynor may be controlling something else at that time. Maybe focused on the Locusts. The Battlecruisers do get into play. Take down a couple of Corruptors, but another one bites the dust. They're down to just 2 Battlecruisers, not nearly the offensive harassment threat that they once were. And also starting to really be not great on the defensive. They're not helping out so much. Kind of feel like all it took was that one very good fight to suddenly have Maru in desperate times. So he was doing wave after wave, doing all right, expanding still, getting to the Ghost even, further increasing his army type. And then it was just that one fight that led to another, and now Maru really low on that bank, still up against someone who's going to, you know, be able to trade consistently with these Locusts. And I'm not really concerned for Maru quite yet, because his composition does still look pretty good, but Reynor might be actually digging into this crack and actually piercing him open.
Yeah, we've had so long the Locusts just looking like they're doing so little, but then finally, they have actually started to make a bit more of an impact here. This time Maru makes them look not so great again, but at some stage Maru has to think about moving off of 5 bases, and he is starting to go down bottom right for the 6th base, so it's feeling as though these top bases are a little bit untouchable right now. These Ghosts are kind of just out on their own. They're looking for the Swarm Hosts, but they're going to get found. The Banes and the Ravages were moving forward, so this for Maru is looking a little bit rough as we see the Ghost chase down, and now Banes are up here, kind of unstoppable. A few tanks on the high ground. Banes will just commit in, and we've got some Locusts start backing it all up as well.
Oh, the tanks on the left side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not protected at all from the Battle Cruisers, so yeah, a bit of a nasty loss there for Maru. Reynor finds some benefit there, now up 30 army supply. They both still have a bit of, well, Reynor has a tremendous bank. Maru really only has a mineral bank, using the rest of his gas into the replacement Ghost, a couple of more tanks, and that is not a good sign since he still can't get his 5th base quite up. If he gets a 5th, I'm still, you know, okay, it's Maru, he's probably going to continue living on, but if that 5th does in fact get denied, there's no other base that really looks like it can happen, or 6th, sorry, by the way, I can count, so 6th, but there's no other base that can happen. The rest is covered by creep spread.
It's okay, CG. It's just a splurge of blue in the top right-hand side. There's so much. But you have the Locust going to come in once again. This time looks like maybe just a tank or so. But combined with the Ling Bane, maybe they do not get cleaned out very quickly. Of course, the Ling Bane also tanks some of the tank shots elsewhere. And maybe create some opportunities.
Yeah, maybe. It was actually went not as... It looked like everything was going to try and come in and like win the game.
Yeah.
And then Maru was like, no. I still have a lot left over. So our supplies even up again. Yes, yes, he did. But Reynor still has the map entirely, and Maru did just kind of give up on the idea of that bottom base. The Corruptors are maybe even looking to do a little run-by of their own down in the south.
Yeah.
I think they were also waiting for the Battlecruisers to try and sneak around there, and they're like, oh, hey, they're actually on the top.
PC is going to get rid of a little bit more creeps. They're just clearing that out as they continue to move down the south side. It's going to be seeing the Corruptors are going to come back up, actually, try and push those BCs away. The Queen's taking some damage. We do teleport those BCs out of there. And at this point, you can see Maru just, again, continue to try and hold on, working into infantry upgrades, improve those ghosts a bit. So they do have SCVs having to evacuate from the bottom right-hand side, and this is huge because now Reynor is breaking into the 5th base. That's not somewhere he's really broken into too much before. Gets some biles and a couple of ghosts as he leaves out. No kills, but some damage done. Those 2 ghosts that are hurt looked as though they wanted to go get some revenge.
Looks like it. I'm not doing so. But right, if the 5th base is now actually under fire, the 6th is a real dream. Maru's gonna need to take some really good engagements to open up the bottom pathway. Now, if he does get that 6th up, we're not just talking about him needing the economy, but then it also would be a jumping off point for perhaps one of the, a push from him, which has not happened at all in this game since like the Battlecruiser and the Alien. So that would then put Reynor's 7th and 8th, whatever these are in the bottom right, the 12 o'clock bases, in jeopardy as well. So as long as Reynor is the one pushing into Maru, then he really does truly have the map, has some time to make up for any mistake he does make, any overextension he does make. If Maru does get that bottom right kind of covered, still handles the top side well enough, then we're, moving and grooving for Maru a little bit more. But as long as he's on the defensive, Reynor has a lot of opportunities. Perhaps not this one, though.
No, that one wasn't pretty. That's just tanks that target firing banelings and having a good time of it. So I'm trying to go top side. That is going to be an Overlord blocking in, just trying to slow Maru down at any opportunity, stop him from taking those bases. Yeah,
and I talked a lot about the 6 o'clock, but then same thing with the 12 o'clock, right? If Maru can get a base forward, is basically what I'm talking about,
yep.
Then he can move his army forward, start threatening Reynor's bases, which he has not been able to do so far. So another important aspect of taking this base, and it looks like Reynor is going to try and stop it, but this time around, Maru is prepared to defend. He has the units set up, he has the Hellbats all collected together, and even the Battlecruiser once again barely living. So it seems like that planetary is in fact going to go up, and then Reynor's 11 o'clock base, whatever, is going to now be in danger, which maybe he doesn't need right here, right now, but start getting the feeling of the first game again.
Yeah, no, it's just scary because as much as it feels okay for Reynor, it's going good. You gotta just think if Maru can just get one more base, if he just gets to that next step of the late game, that's where he looks so untouchable sometimes. Reynor is transitioning through to more Corruptors, getting extra Spire online, so looking to kind of keep upgrades going, I imagine, as he adds a greater Spire into play. And of course, still using the Swarm Host that he has to do what he can with, while just running the Ling Bane into bases frequently. But that topside base is online for the moment, and Reynor's not been able to do much about it, as he does have a lot of bases of his own right here. I want to start thinking about bottom right denial again, right? Just to sort of say, hey, if you've got this top base, maybe I deny bottom right. The scariest part of that is maybe it gives Maru a chance to then, like you say, push forward with the army though.
Planetary is done, but only a couple of tanks to help defend. And the Battlecruisers need to be really careful. They don't have anything helping them if there are too many Corruptors. So, maybe worth trying to take that out. Oh, Mass Repair was going to go down, so okay. Maybe good pullback there from Reynor as Maru's army was responding. Speaking of planetaries, other planetary is also under threat, but going to survive as well. And I feel like that, even though Maru is still down in the dumps as far as the bank goes, then he's really down to like 1.5 bases. I still feel like that lack of damage from the combo is really worrying. Like, now Maru does get to go for the engagement. He does still have some bases to move off of, and now that he's taken this base down from Reynor, he will be able to capture this one for himself.
I think Reynor's waiting out on Brutal. Right now he's got only 12 Corruptors, but he's keeping some supply free. He's got a lot of money in the bank, and he's got a lot of lava, so yeah, he just moved in every single Broodlord as the scan goes down at the front. The Brood's over here.
Now we're getting all the upgrades again. By the way, low-key, we haven't really brought this up, but behind the last 7 minutes, I want to say, Maru has been upgrading his bio, despite going for mech initially, so the Ghosts have upgrades. And the only upgrade he's missing is +3 attack on the bio, as well as more ship weapons, I suppose, which all the things that he's working on, as well as the EMP upgrade, which I love to see. He got a Raven a long time ago, too, which is now helping clear out the creep. I'm sure it's going to throw in an anti-armor missile as well. I don't know about Interference Matrix, maybe on some of the spellcasters, but Maru, this is what I was afraid. I felt like as soon as that 2 attack prong thing did not work out for Reynor, this suddenly was the opening. Maru is now actually doing damage to his opponents while having bank accrued behind it.
7-8 drones going down as these ones are just stuck in the middle of nowhere. So Reynor he has a big bank, but his actual mining is going to start being limited as the BCs launch some initial shots off onto Broodlords here. We're going to press forward. We do have Infestors trying to get involved as well. They drop a fungal, and anti-armor missile goes down from a Raven. And we are just going to be seeing those Thors still try and push on through. And a few Broodlings coming in to push the Hellbats back, though. And for now, Maru is not going to go any further forward. He did deal a lot of damage to Reynor's economy this time around, at least. And we're going to start investing into nukes as another way just try and break through and push Reynor back.
Yeah, even if it's by inch. It's getting eerily close to the first game. This time we started off with mech, but we are getting to the same point, which, yeah, first game ended with mech, basically. Ghost, Hellbats, Thor, with, I think, at the end of that first game, there was 8 Marines, I want to say. So, not very bio at all. But I don't know if Reynor saw something really telling in that first game towards the end, where he was thinking to himself, if only I'd done X, Y, or Z when it came to the engagement. But for Reynor fans out there, hopefully he did. Hopefully he noticed something that he just simply messed up on, because at the end of the day, of course, Maru won that game, won more of the fights, and it's getting really close to that type of game. Main difference being Maru has a couple of battlecruisers.
Yeah.
And then everything, the map as well, of course.
And he's keeping on building these Ravens too, so it's going to be fun to see how he keeps utilizing those. Here comes a wave of Locust. We try to deny a forward base here, just an orbital. So yeah, that wasn't going to be repaired, was it? A couple of fungals go down, and we do see the Ghost unable to get forward enough to keep on sniping. And those Thors are going to turn around, and Brood's actually taking some damage, so Reynor taking some losses as he has to back away. At least he did get rid of a chunk of SCVs. Maru's economy also taking hits, and of course Maru's economy is most important because he doesn't have a huge bank to sit back on.
And also different in this game, Reynor has 9 Swarm Hosts, taking up a lot of supply. Maybe contributing enough to be worth it, but I do wonder about the inclusion of them. We might eventually see them kind of purposefully sacrificed, but right now Reynor's comfortable with the army as it is, continuing to move forward through this choke. Maybe going to kill a battlecruiser, there's not enough corruptors to actually do so. He's going to force it through the choke as well. Maybe capture some of these frontline units, get a fungal on all those, goes to the top left. EMPs are going down, but I think they've already taken care of any Vipers that were there. There's actually none. The fungals were still available. Going through that choke for either person just seems like suicide.
Yeah, we're just going to line up a nuke in the center here as well, just make sure everything is backing away. Maru wants a few moments to recollect. Nuke will land, get rid of a bit of creep spread, and that might make this choke in particular a little tougher to push through. Just stop the Infestors maybe again as much of a kind of step forward as they were getting before. Again, Reynolds trying to retake these bases repeatedly, top left and bottom right. Those are the ones that Maru has been denying in this game, and he continues to try and do that at the moment.
I can't believe we've actually ended up in another game like this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go just as long. Okay, Swarm Hosts are being traded out forcefully as the snipes come down, but it looks like Reynor sees an opportunity to capture some Thors, maybe not properly protected by those Hellbats, tries to focus fire them down. Doesn't really quite work out.
It doesn't, and we do have a little cancel on the bottom right side as well, and actually just tanks moving around the map to deal some damage. So he gets rid of both of the bases that were moving up here. There's actually BCs in the bottom right, and there's tanks in the upper left. So good job of just denying those incoming bases, and again, just doing as much as he can to slow Reynor down. Right now, Reynor actually doesn't have a ton of gas mining, especially as he loses this top left base. So for the moment, he's got a lot of minerals, and he's going to have to start thinking about how he's going to spend in perhaps a mineral-only manner.
Right. I'm thinking about 10 minutes ago when I said, well, maybe him losing that base, losing that gas isn't important now, but now it is getting really important. He's going to be not exactly low anytime soon, as there are still quite a few places to mine from. We're not that deep into the game, but that is usually more of a concern for the Zerg, who has to trade out a little bit poorly compared to the Terran, unless they get a really, really good fight, which is still possible. But so far hasn't happened to the point, of course, that Reynor has won the game. He's maybe gotten a couple of good fights, but so is Maru. And now Maru is the one looking at a supreme late game where he really thrives. He seems to understand exactly what makes the composition work and the situations work for it. And he's perfecting his army too by sacrificing those tanks and just replacing them with Thors.
Yeah, just continuing to keep up with that as we do see extra CCs coming down as well, and I believe he may want to make a bid for one of these bases that Reynor's been trying to get online, so continue to try and play around that as we do have the Ghosts, the Hellbats and Thors still moving themselves around. Here's a few of those Swarm Hosts that are still left alive, just going to send in that wave of Locust and do what they can. A little bit of damage on a Thor, about 10 HP.
Should he just let those die?
Yeah, they're doing nothing at all.
Yeah, the Swarm Host should probably just go and die. Just, I don't know. All right, well, they're not. Reynor sees value in them. Fair enough. 26 Brood Lords, almost fully upgraded, by the way. Ooh, lots of Ghosts dying as they kind of got caught in a very awkward position there. So now it is only down to 7 Ghosts, but 10 Thors. Only 6 Hellbats, too, actually. We are missing some of that fodder that actually takes care of the Broodlings. Still 21. Baneling's even rolling through as well, cleaning up more of those Hellbats and helping its Thors a little bit as well. When it is only Thors, that is also concerning, right? And those fungals, those neural parasites are still available. One EMP clips kind of the edge of the infestors, but not nearly enough. There's the neural parasites, but the Broodlords are already taking so much damage from the concave of the Thors that I'm not sure who's actually going to be able to win this. The supplies are still eerily close. The battle cruisers come in to try and support, but the last couple of Thors, literally a couple of them, are getting surrounded by the Broodlings as the battle cruiser teleports out. The Ghosts try and come in for some cheeky snipes. 4 Broodlords, not even 3 Broodlords continuing the attack. But at the end of the day, as the dust settles, they still come out at an even supply.
Even supply. Reynor has a bit more money in the bank to spend, but again, it's mostly minerals. Their gas banks are very similar. So when you kind of look at what's up at the end of all of this, what does Reynor really have? 13 Corruptors, a couple Infestors, and then Zerglings. He's going to try and overwhelm with Zerglings. Now the Swarm Hosts do feel kind of nice to have, I suppose, because they will do anything to help. A few SCVs repairing up this final BC. We're actually going back into a BC, and look at the difference in what's being made. Roaches and Lings versus Thors and BCs, right? There's just tech there from Maru that Reynor can't get online. I think that's a big difference at the moment.
You're absolutely right about that, but I do wonder if this is almost like a TVT situation, just an idea of where more low-tech stuff can do more around the map, right?
Yeah.
That is a possibility. The other possibility is that, yeah, it's just worse tech. It just, it's going to die, and it is truly desperate. I do think it is, a bit desperate, but then Reynor might be able to find some success depending on how he uses it. It's currently not really finding any opening from Maru's defenses. The planetary is going to be a tough nut to crack. Maru is the one building up, I think, the better army. More Ghosts, more Hellbats might sound kind of weird, but I think that is important for what's been happening in this game. And Reynor might have the supply lead, but is that supply good enough?
Up the ramp we go, as a couple of BCs will just do what they've done before many a time in this game. Yamato and teleport the heck out of there, as we do have this counterattack coming in. So 24 SCVs go down for Maru, but he is denying the base in the bottom side, or at least it seems that that's going to be happening. The BCs need to be careful because the Corruptors know where they are, and they will come hunting. There's that one tank on the high ground, probably going to go down as well. Maru gets a few drones kills of his own. Both players have nigh on nothing in the bank, and the army supplies are very close, but there goes one battle cruiser, and here goes the other. No anti-air here to protect. However, now are these Corruptors just useless? 10 Corruptors, and we don't have the gas to make Broods.
That's a very good point. I mean, clearly, if there is a bit of a bank, then Broodlords would be a new deadly option, but a returning deadly option. Speaking of, 2 Broodlords going to try and get a tank. They do indeed get the tank, and even try to get the Ghost. But yeah, so you can't turn them into Broodlords, so what are the Corruptors doing? Running around trying to basically pee on buildings, guys? Like, maybe they do. Maybe they're effective at that, but it's all about the ground army right now, which is 3 Swarm Hosts, 2 Infestors, 12 Ravagers as they finish up, and a decent amount of Lings. But again, such a good army from Maru. It's not just high tech, it's got all those Hellbats. Those Lings are going to be helpful at all. And the EMPs are looking to get slapped down on those Infestors, make sure they don't change the course of the battle.
Well, the Locust coming through again to help initiate this incoming fight. There's a couple of tanks there. They don't take really too much damage. Lings blocking the command center bottom side as Maru looks to block this top left-hand base of Reynor. Man, the resources lost is 75,000 from Reynor, 61,000 from Maru. It has been a massacre here on Tropical Sacrifice, and we're not done yet.
Apparently not, but Reynor is looking awfully desperate on that money problem. This hatchery does seem like it's going to have to be canceled. I feel like he might just go ahead and just go give it up. and try and take the bottom right, because he has, okay, yeah, so he finally accumulated enough minerals that he's going to get that at the same time as, yes, canceling that base. But he knew that he was going to be able to get this at least temporarily, and the Ling's there. Now the Corruptors come in, take care of that command center. That is a freebie. Those Ghosts were looking a little lonely, but no capitalizing on them, and they really weren't that lonely. That is a big mech army. Reynor is going to punch it, though, still, and that just doesn't look too great. We're talking about a very mid-tier Zerg army against one of the best Terran armies you can accumulate.
Yep, I think you were right when you said the low-tech army has that potential to kind of dot around the map, and it did. But Maru still held on, and now it feels like it's going to come down to the larger fight where Maru's army, in theory, should be a bit better. Nice wrangle growth on some of those Hellbats, trying to get anything we can. Massive Ling counterattack to the far right-hand side as well. The depots go up, but that doesn't wall off in full, so these tanks will go down. And that is still a fair few Lings lost, though, and there's another tank low ground. There's a planetary that's helping out. There's Hellbat here. This honestly didn't do that much.
It did not, actually. At the end of the day, that was... I mean, it's usually not a big deal to use those Lings, but it was there. Now we see it reflected in the supply. Reynor really has got nothing to work with. Maru at 50 supply, better supply, moving on forward on that base expansion. And I think Reynor is out of luck. I don't see anything he can do. Spellcaster's not going to save the day when they've got EMPs. And to be honest, since we've got that Infested Terran removed.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is just looking as though, I mean, this is just going to be Maru's game at this point. There is nothing that Reynor really has at this stage. More Lings, one extra Ravager. That's the sad state of affairs. There's just basically no mining going on. I think the bottom right finally got in line, but too late to really kind of suddenly be like, oh yeah, let's rebuild the tech army. That had to be something he was ready to do a long time ago. And Maru's the one with money banked and higher army supply at the moment, looking as though he is going to be able to capitalize on this very slow-going game. A game where, you know, at first, Warhost just didn't do anything, then it kind of felt like they were making progress, and then they didn't again. And yeah, this mech play from Maru, very patient mech play, did exactly what he said he would. I'm never going to move out, and he didn't, but it looks like it's going to net him a game win.
Yep. Now there are 23 Hellbats, guys. Kind of noticed just how many there were once they all stacked together.
A lot, yeah.
So maybe that's not the bestest supply ever. But it is going to provide a lot of fodder. It's going to still have to be kind of pushed through to get to the more important bits of the mech army. And when Reynor is struggling to even take care of said Hellbats, that is also a terrible sign. Reynor doesn't really want to admit defeat right here. Very frustrating way to lose a game, but Maru is a frustrating player to play against. He takes the lead in the series 2-1.
GG, Maru putting himself in a prime position here in this best of 5, one map away from the semi-finals here in Valencia. And what a series we have gotten ourselves into. I mean, just long games throughout from start to finish, and we're not even finished yet. So we are going to go to a quick little break, come back, and more TVZ will be with you.
Welcome back, everyone. We are getting into Game 4 of Maru versus Reynor, the last quarterfinal of DreamHack Valencia, and it has been going on for quite some time. 2 mega long games and 1 kind of normal TVZ.
Yeah, 1 kind of normal one. We're 3 maps in.
Yeah.
But I feel like we casted a best of 7 between these 2
Yes.
last year that went a very similar way.
Yes.
Lots of long games. We had no voices left by the end of it. That was a final. This kind of feels like a final at the moment, and the way these 2 are playing, they might absolutely just be the favorites, whoever comes out ahead. And right now, that is Maru. Looking back at this last game, sit back, defend, defend, defend. Do the one thing Reynor really didn't want him to do. And eventually got to that mega army, right? You said it at some point, you called it out. If he gets that forward base, he can push from there. And
Yeah.
just keep on going. And that's eventually what happened. He was able to force the fights, and then again, Reynor just doesn't have the money to rebuild into what he needed.
It is a major staple of mech, or a mech-like composition, so even kind of a Sky Toss Protoss, where kind of the goal initially is just to stop them from getting to a 4th, and then you don't let them get the other base, another base. But at a certain point, I think especially with mech, actual Terran mech, I do think it becomes not just, I can't let them get enough minerals and gas to build up their army. I have to stop them from getting to my side of the map. Like the distance between our bases, the point of which I can attack and safely retreat and rebuild is now my main concern. So when that happened, it did seem to all kind of happen at once. All of a sudden, Maru was kind of dominating and taking up the map, harassing every which way. And it still depended a lot on how that main engagement was going to go. But then, yes, Maru did win that as well.
Yeah, I mean, just fantastic display of patience almost. You know, when they say play like Maru, I feel like some of us just don't have the patience to play like Maru. Never mind the mechanical skill and knowledge and all this. Just the patience. Just sit there and just take, you know, attack after attack, take hit after hit, absorb that damage, and then just bounce back just as strong for the next wave and get ready to finally attack yourself. Just waiting to finally push forward and to push out.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's... I mean, I do want to say that there's other very, very patient players. In fact, I'm going to say it again, Dark. You know, I brought up with him and Roaches earlier on, but, you know, I'm thinking of his ZVZs. So first come to mind for another patient, supremely patient player, it is Dark. But then who did he face at Katowice? Reynor, who I would say was more of the reasonable patient person, as in, if you thought you could mimic someone's patience, you'd be like, I can mimic Reynor's patience, but I cannot mimic Dark or Maru's, not at all.
Yep. Absolutely, this game is counting down. Reynor apparently had a wobbly desk, but it has been sorted, so no wobbles left over right now. Just full-on TVZ gameplay. Reynor is trailing 1-2. I know he doesn't really like this map. I think he thinks this is a bit of a Terran map, short rush distance, good positions. That backward base can be great for Terran as well. He got aggressive on it yesterday against Bunny. We'll see if he wants to do the same. In the bottom right, this might be your last chance to cheer for him, so let's hear it for the red Zerg in the bottom corner, Reynor!
In the top left as the blue Terran for Onside Gaming, he is Maru. And Reynor, needs your support down again on his last life. Also, the last non-Korean representative of this round of 8. It's the only hope we have going into the round of 4, as the other 3 foreigners could not quite do it. But if there was going to be anyone we could hope for, it'd be Reynor, yeah, sure. But then you just put Maru in front of him too, and you're like, okay, great, super cool. Which, to be fair, they have traded blows, and in some of the bigger tournaments, Reynor was the one to win.
Yeah.
But most recently, it has been Maru winning the last 2 series that they've played, those online tournaments.
Yep, admittedly one of those was just a best of 1, but best of 1 still counts. And yeah, Maru has been just getting the better of him recently, and this would start up a little bit of a streak, right? Like, you know, 2 is whatever, but 3 is a bit of a streak for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that the new maps are playing absolutely a part in what's happening in this tournament. Simply it's a good effect, right? That the balance here in the top 8 was great. It was great race-wise, as well as nationality-wise, as well as just the actual games themselves. Fantastic quality. But as far as whether Reynor was going to feel as pumped as he did at Katowice, for instance, where we played a map pool that we'd been playing on for at least 4 months at that point, yeah, it's just going to be different. And Moon Dance is going to be one of those just real headaches for a guy like Reynor, playing Zerg, playing against Maru, who, one, could be aggressive, so it is one of the shorter maps that we have, or two, can be super turtly, and there's a freebie back base that you can get. It's a half base, but still.
Half base, only one gas, but you know what? It's still nice. Free base is a free base, especially if you're already holding like a forward base and you just take that as like a little bonus later.
Right.
It's just nice to be able to get to that, so. Yeah, we'll see what Reynor opts to do. Like I say, yesterday he decided to get very aggressive against Bunny on this map, just going straight up aggro. And this time around, we'll see if obviously he's not already going for something like that. He hasn't really set the stage for that either. He's been going hatch first every game, so this isn't some pool first timing trickery. Oh, look what I'm doing here. Maru's going to play the part on this map. 3rd CC on location. We'll take that backward base to start off with. I'm very happy to just take 5 gases and all but 2 mineral patches that you usually have.
Right, yes. So, all right, this is the plan here then. Gonna build up on 3 bases incredibly safely, and then more importantly than that even, is that when Maru pushes off from the 3 bases, I'm gonna guess with Bio, but we'll see, he won't have to worry nearly as much about those run-bys that are usually a thorn in Terran's side when it comes to facing Zerg and Reynor specifically. Of course, they could still get into the natural, that is very true, but just less to worry about than compared to a normal 3rd base. So another reason that Reynor especially would mention not liking this map.
Oh, absolutely. Is this Ribbang going to head up to the top left-hand side? Just going to go rejoin with the Hellions, and there are more Hellions and a Viking on the way out, so very standard. There are some Overlords. Get some map control with those Hellions. That's the setup for the moment here. Out of Maru is, yeah, we get our 3rd hatchery up and running, and we'll wait to see what will be next as we cancel that was a reactor.
Yeah.
It's been weird to see a 2nd reactor so soon, so I think that might have just been a misclick.
I think so. I agree, unless he was going to swap that off with the starport and do like a euthermal Viking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he could maybe go like double medevac as well, and like some amount of, I guess not because it's building Hellions now, I've got no idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fusion core instead. And, okay, so there's still the 2 options, though, right? With the fusion core, you might say, oh my gosh, it's going to be exactly like the last game. And it might be, honestly. But there is that option that he's going to display this build and then change it. Because there is still the course of Bio after the 1 battle cruiser. You don't get anymore. But he's also getting really fast natural gases, I believe. So, yeah, fairly fast.
Yep.
So, I'm going to say mech.
Yeah. I feel like there's not that much of a gas. There's a bit more of an educated tell. Yeah, those gases so quickly, I mean, you just don't need them if you're going to switch into the Bio, right? Because the BC is pretty much the most gas-expensive thing you're going to build. And then you just straight on to Stim, 100 gas, and then Barrack, which is just minerals. So, yeah, looking as though we're going to see Maru just kind of content to play mech again. This map will be interesting to see how Reynor approaches it, see what he wants to try and do. Obviously, again, you get that backward base for free as Maru, but then it is only 1 gas on that base, and that kind of obviously affect mech, which is so gas dependent. So you'll have to look towards other bases, but I mean, it's a map that has other easy to take bases as well, you know? So we might just see Maru very comfortably moving to base, and Reynor's gonna have to find something different to try and bust him down and break him down early this time around.
And while, yes, a very good point about the singular gas in the back, it is just, again, going to the idea of versus mech, you want to stop them from winning that next base. And usually, for a mech player, 3 bases is incredibly difficult point to actually defend. But once you have the 3 bases kind of up and properly protected, then getting to a 4th is really not unreasonable. So in this case, you are 100% protected on the 3 bases. So Maru is feeling very confident about not having anything disrupt him in the first 8, 9, 10 minutes of the game even. So getting a little bit of harassment with the Battlecruisers and the Hellions, getting double armory, some double upgrades behind it too. And Reynor, I mean, he does still want to, you know, double check if this is actually mech, but probably is already suspicious of it since, hey, you won that last game. I guess you're going to do the same thing again.
Yes, you're going to do the same again. Fibane's going to waddle around, but you have the Hellions moving in. Going to get rid of some of the creep spread. Just going to clear this out a little bit and go into a few tanks to get that defense ready just in case this does turn out to be something of a bust. But Reynor's already on a drone count where he's way beyond the potential of being able to bust anytime soon. As this BC hits the right side, and the Hellions don't have too much luck up the left against the Lingbane.
There could be a very nice cancel there for Maru, but he's not going to be able to get it. No. And once it finishes up, he could, of course, be transfused. Lots of queens available. Spreading creep seemingly off of creep for a second there.
Yeah, just moving forward a little bit as we do
Technicality.
have Infestation Pit dropping down, by the way. So Reynor straight into that once again. Missile upgrade coming through. His Roach Warren just finished. So if he's going to build some roaches, probably time to start that roach speed as well. Make sure they're going to be nice and speedy. As his Maru builds more BCs, we're going to see that Yamato cannon upgrade, the weapon refit coming online. So he can, of course, kind of do what he did in the last game, which is kill 20+ Corruptors, which is kind of what kept him in the efficiency game last time around.
Right, yes. I wondered why it was so close, and then looked at the units lost. Like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Swarm Host again here from Reynor. It's gonna. I mean, he had, I'd say, a lot of success with it. There's a couple of bad Locust waves, but for every bad one, it felt like there was a good one for a while there, anyways. And just thought that that was going well enough to once again replicate it. Alternatively, he just believes also that doing anything else might not work out as well too, which is very fair on such a macro start to a pretty macro map. Got that safe third base, and even this fourth base kind of up that ramp can be difficult to bust. And now 19 Swarm Hosts all coming at once quite quickly as well, since this time he didn't spend time getting to that Spire. So that's a bit dangerous as far as dealing with battlecruiser harassment, but I guess he's replacing it with not just the Queens as is, but also a Nidus Swarm to help support both of those units.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun switch up, right? The core idea almost remains the same, but yeah, no Spire. Not going to be seeing a lot more Queens, and again, the Nidus to help you maybe maneuver around a little bit more with these units, because the Queens obviously aren't super quick. And the Nidus can maybe help you just get creep in some places that would have taken a long time to get to otherwise, because if the Queens pop out of Nidus, they can drop a couple creep tumors, then they back away, and at least you can start progressing that. It's something that Maru has to keep on top of, otherwise Reynor just gets more control to make use of.
Exactly. I might just love this. Let's see how it works out. The first Locust wave is a biggin, and it goes right for that tank on the back line. The Hellbats, not yet on Blue Flame, also weren't quite protecting some of those backline tanks, but they were certainly protecting enough of them for properly protected, and the help of the battlecruisers, which, you know, they're not dying. So even though the Queens might eventually, you know, they might be able to push them away from some of the Swarm Hosts, as far as moving such a slow composition as Swarm Host Queen into a defensive Terran, yeah, do those battlecruisers ever die? No, they really shouldn't. So Corruptors have to be added on eventually. And then I wonder if the Queens were really worthwhile in this particular push. Are they really worth still building to this extreme number? Maybe if the Nidus Storm gets up in a really good location.
Yeah, we're just going to be seeing Swarm Host round 2. This time there's a lot of Hellbats that have Blue Flame, so the Locusts die that much faster. We are going to be seeing, I believe, 2 tanks, or at least going down the back lines there. These Queens low HP, though, and taking a bit of a beating as well. And if that Queen number drops too low, BCs are going to be big. I was going to say, do you think we might just see more BC production quickly? Because he's like, oh, yeah. Spire. And he did now start it up, but Reynor has recognized that that might be something he does. Now he goes for the Spire. Now he's getting Corrupted. He just wanted to prioritize a lot of Swarm Hosts very quickly. But what about this? This counterattack is going to be kind of big, and, well, there's not really anti-air here, and it's only the Queens that were already damaged. I guess the Corruptors are very close to popping out, and boy, are they going to be just on time. Right,
exactly. This was exactly the threat that I was talking about when you don't open up with a Spire, or eventually get one anyways, against someone who does at least get 3 battlecruisers, if not more, if they see that you are not getting them. 1 battlecruiser did fall, so that is nice, and then these Hellbats a little awkwardly moving backwards, but with the help of the missile turrets as well, enough tanks will survive with the help of the SimCity of them too, to really not make this worrying for Maru, who takes a 4th base, finds one of the Nidus Swarms, other one coming up on that left side, and certainly Maru is not going to have a lot of map vision throughout this game, so a lot of cheeky Nidus Swarms probably never going to be found, in fact, but is Reynor really going to find the damage, which usually we kind of assume eventually there'll be enough damage, eventually the opening will be made, but we've got 1 game under our belt that looked very close to this, and Maru ended up winning that one, so Reynor, like, how soon does he feel like it is ticking down unfavorably for him? Does every wave just get a little more worrying? Well, he's going to try and bust the Hellbats here with some slow Banelings. Is this really opening up an opportunity?
Yeah, maybe, as obviously the problem is now these Locusts are on cooldown still, so the Roaches aren't making much progress. There's been BCs clearing up around the map as well. I'm just going to be seeing resources lost a little bit better for Reynor than it was at this point last game, but only by 1,000, and I don't think 1,000 resource difference is necessarily the make or break, and I do feel like now we've got that kind of BC, kind of Yamato kind of effect going on against Corruptors. He's probably going to find Maru that efficiency back in his pocket in the very near future. As the creep spread, by the way, as well, like, it is forward, it is kind of out here, but I feel like it's only really here. Like, it's not everywhere on the map. Drop a couple of Yamatos here, teleport those BCs back again. Just got to try and deal with these Locusts, though, and the BCs didn't go very far away, so the Corruptors want to try and dive on them. They might be able to get something done. Looks okay, though, for Maru. Doesn't lose too much.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of watch the Locust and apprehension, thinking because there's a really big difference. If they find tanks alone, it's just boop, they're gone, and then suddenly Terran's really in a scary position. If they don't really get those shots, then it's just it could be exciting. Just kidding, wasn't exciting at all. Maru is perfectly fine, and so far it's been the latter, all while being on 97 SCVs, by the way. So not even as much army supply as we would expect from the Terran. That is a lot of workers, even for a bit of the turtle Terran here, the mech. Why not just round it out to 100, man?
Just build 3 more.
Yeah, just do it.
I like easy numbers, Maru. Jumps onto this planetary, it feels like that's not going to do anything, right? And it just feels like there's some waves of these locusts that just don't do anything at all, and that just feels like suddenly it slows down a bit, and then Maru gets time to really set up, and all of a sudden 4 more barracks, Ghost Academy dropping down. Gonna build the Ravens again. Did we see much love from the Ravens last time around? I guess mostly looking for those anti-armor missiles just to speed up the battlecruiser DPS in certain fights.
There's one fight, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
We saw it like one time, and I think he built like 2 Ravens in total, so yeah, just interesting to see that still a core part of what he's building, and yeah, I assume it is just to help the BCs out mostly. So you're going to see another wave of Locusts, a few Balins supporting, try to bust down those Hellbats. They don't get very far forward. The tanks deal them pretty quick, but actually maybe not enough Hellbats in the back there. The Locusts doing better than before, but these Queens and Roaches and Ravagers are still trying to come on through, and I'm not sure if that's the right decision. The Roach Ravager goes down, the Queens are left will go down as well, and Reynor loses a lot. Yes, he busts down some more of Maru's supply, but Maru can rebuild off the back of this. Still only a 1k resource loss difference, and it does just slightly favor Reynor.
And again, that was one of those situations where maybe there was an opening. You kind of saw those tanks start to go down. Like, oh, is there enough Hellbats? Oh, the Hellbats are dead. But there's just no follow-up when all of your supply is in Swarm Hosts or Corruptors, of course, which can't shoot down. So if there was 40 Lings behind that, they jump on top of those tanks that are undefended. If there is 20 Roaches or, Ravagers, then yeah, they jump on top of that. Which now Reynor is trying to do a little bit more with the help of another Locust wave, but the Corruptors cannot take on the amount of battlecruisers. A lot of those missile turrets have been picking away at their numbers this entire time, so if it's not one thing, it is another. Maru is still successfully holding on 5 bases while adding on those Ghosts, the upgrades, and Reynor doesn't seem to be making any better headway than last game.
Nope, he's not, but I feel like he's maybe even making less at points, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just because Maru's so quick to 5 bases because of the layout of the map, right? So, yeah, it just feels a little bit rough, and it feels like Reynor's not even expanding as quickly himself this game, right? Considering he's only 1 base above Maru. I feel like he was just that much faster on the last map. Either way, these Locusts going to come again, and we've told this story one too many times, I feel like, is just going to be seeing everything crash through. Not really much of anything goes down. I mean, honestly, it's Reynor that's losing more significant units than Maru is.
Right. Yeah, Reynor is really not doing as well as last time. Less of the map seems to be taken literally by the bases, but even the creep spread really only down that middle. And then the upgrades, yeah, I think they were a bit more all-encompassing, faster in the last game. So I'm just extremely worried, because even if it was exactly like the last game, well, that was still a loss for Reynor, so that's not great either. Reynor, I don't know, I feel like at this point it's more just about needing Maru to mess up. Miss-splitting, miss-sniping, I don't know, getting overconfident and actually moving out on the map, right? But unless Maru's want to make a mistake, Reynor just cannot find the secret path forward here.
Well, Luca's going to go a bit of a different direction this time, and I like this idea, doing something like this. Deny that +1 ship weapons would be great. It is going to go down. At the same time, that right side little fight going on. 15 SCVs full. I mean, that actually feels like, a real play here, but here comes some snipes. Not enough. Reynor did turn around just about in time. Only 1 Corruptor fell. However, the BCs are going to find themselves the Swarm Host, and he denies the Nidus. So the Swarm Host counter is going to take a heavy hit. But Yamato, those 2, we turn around for the others. And Reynor loses a significant portion of his Swarm Host supply there. It gets to a point where we question, were they doing enough? But I feel like they just did something useful for the first time in a while.
Yeah, right, getting those armories. Now he's only down to 7, which absolutely can still pick off a couple of structures, maybe even a planetary. But as far as helping the main engagements, maybe. More drones are being added as Reynor realizes that his bank maybe isn't actually as confident as he feels. He has been rebuilding on a lot of Ling, Roach, Baneling, some more of that lair-based just quantity type of army, hoping to overrun Maru on kind of a pace change, but that didn't work either.
Nope, it did not. Reynor's going to come back down through the center. +2 melee is about to finish from Reynor as well. Maru is just off and away, man. Reynor, needs to spend some money. He's got 14 love and needs to choose what it's going to be, because if Maru starts pushing properly, you got to be maxed out. You got to have as much as possible to deal with that. I mean, Maru has a large army supply on the map right now, and his fights are going to start being terrifying.
You feel like once Maru gets that middle base, middle left, that's another breaking point like last game. Okay, he's going to push off of that and then harass some of the other bases with, I guess, the battle cruisers, and it's going to be tough. Reynor is... I really think his plan here was to try and just hit a little bit harder, a little bit faster, right? So Queens over Corruptors, even more Swarm Hosts. It doesn't work, and it worked maybe even less. So now he's kind of had to almost admit defeat, which, you know, it's not maybe as extreme as that, but basically he is now saying, all right, let's try the Greater Spire thing, the Broodlord thing, get the Fungals. His late game army composition always has had potential in both the late games they've played out. It just never quite hit perfectly. So yes, it is the same thing. Yes, I do not feel great for Reynor's chances, but if he could get to another army like that, maybe it would be different. Now, in this game, the question is, can he even get to that army?
Yeah, we will see these few Banes. Yeah, okay, sure. Nothing really too major. You're going to see snipes going down these Ravages. Obviously, they get sniped down in one, so just deadly. We drop an anti-armor missile, because I think he thought the Raven was about to die, but it lives to fly into the Spore Crawlers and then die. As Maru's push, I mean, Reynor, what are we actually going to use to fight this? He's making so many Lings right now. I guess we're just going to morph in a crap ton of Banes and go, but there's a massive supply block as we snipe down Overlords, and Reynor has to start rebuilding a whole chunk of those. And right now, I feel like he's actually out of lava again. Okay, he's just gone some extras up, but yeah, I mean, Maru getting rid of one base, going to go bottom left, and Reynor just feels like he's being slowly checkmated in this game. He needs a magnificent fight in the very near future to give him a fighting chance right now.
Certainly in check right now. This is... It looks like the writing is on the wall. Reynor really doesn't have a lot to work with. Even his attempt to build enough Overlords to unsupply block himself did not work. And he is once again going off of this mid-tier army against Maru's fantastic late-game army.
Oh,
great Fungal.
Okay.
Is there a capitalization on it? Not really capitalizing on it so much. Got unlocked from the Fungal, dodge and weave, split. Maybe another scan to clear up this creep spread. There you go. And Reynor is in a world of trouble. He does have his chance to get to Broodlords, but then kind of on the back foot with not a whole lot of the extra... I guess, things that accompany those Broodlords. Okay, more Infestors as well. All right, so he is using the rest of his bank to get to something really intimidating, but it will be his one-punch army, and that has not worked in the past two macro games.
Nope, it has not at all. I mean, yeah, we're just seeing a repeat of what we've seen previously, and I just feel as though Reynor is, like I say, maybe a couple of times already, is worse set up in this game than he has been previously. He'll give it one more go. I mean, with the right spellcasting, it is absolutely possible, but he is losing base after base. He's just been reset down to a 4-base Zerg. I mean, the 5th base rebuilding on the bottom side, trying to get a base going just to the left of your screen here as well. These BCs alone going to drop a bunch of Yamatos off and just clearing the way. And right now, there's not a lot to push the BCs back, never mind everything else. Snipes coming down. There's the big fungal growth. Cancels a lot of those snipes, so the Broodlords are getting involved. He has Maru gone too far too quickly. Looks as though he's probably going to be okay. Will stand his ground, but will not be able to push in much further just yet. 6 new Thors in production.
Yeah, he definitely has the money to do that. A couple of Fungals are making these things look different, as well as the surplus of Banelings almost connecting with the Ghost repeatedly. Not quite there either, but a lot of chipping on the Ghosts. And Maru is going to respect that. He is actually going to back away. Reynor, I guess, the last second, accumulating the army that Maru didn't think he had, so maybe that was also part of it. He was like, oh, okay, you do have enough. All right, that's fair enough. So he's going to have to pull back, adapt his army maybe a little bit more to now the fact that there is Broodlords, there are Infestors, reimagine how the fight is going to go as well, and then he can go ahead and win this game probably, just based off the 2 other games where this was very similar. But Reynor has given himself a second chance in this game, I believe, because everything else that had happened was not looking so good. This was the most hopeful thing.
Yeah, it's definitely something. Those banks have been depleted, and that is an issue for Reynor, who obviously has been struggling to get bases back online, right? But he's getting that. If Maru's just going to sit back for a moment or two, then it gives him a chance to get those bases up at least, and maybe get some of the income he needs to get another bank, get ready to go one more time at least. We've got a set of Banes on his left side ready to maybe hit what will be a fully functional orbital command on the left side, so no planetary fortress defense. We'll see if that's what Reynor is aiming for.
You know, I was wondering about these 2 Thors, because I saw that before, and I was wondering if there was, well, I think it's only if they are stuck, and that I just confirmed that there's a Thor stuck in the main base. So it's bugging out, man.
Top right in factory, yeah,
Flipping
right
out,
over
man.
there. is just not able to get out. Lift that orbital, give it freedom. I mean, would then probably be trapped elsewhere, but right now he can't even build, so...
Yeah, it's fine.
Maru's fighting with 12 supply less than he should be.
There you go, exactly. Maybe not a big deal. We'll see how the fight's gonna go, because the fight is underway. Broodlords try and race forward with that fungal to kill some of the ghosts, which it sounds like they did indeed do so. And Reynor is just hoping that these fights go a lot better. They've gotten so close. They've gotten so close to actually winning the fight to a point where Reynor could then continue moving forward and capitalize on it. And that's what we're kind of hoping for, to bring it to a Game 5, which I think we all would love. We're talking about either the last Terran in the tournament or the last non-Korean.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. As we do see a couple of tanks staged up here, pushing those spores. Here comes the counterattack from Reynor along the left-hand side, which is something we saw at one point him try to counterattack a bit in that last game towards the end, but never really went very well. He's going to find a siege tank here, but now everything else arrives. The BC is even teleporting in just to guarantee the defense on this position. As you see, oh, yeah, there's just too much mech all over the place. Wherever Reynor turns, there's a mech army waiting to greet him, it feels like. And we are slowly pushing down, looking to try and get a position on these bases that can maybe force the fight as, Maru's pathing though. A few of his units just kind of out on their own, and this is Reynor's opportunity to get some free kills. I say free, he is going to fight back a little bit. The Thors are trying to get out of there too, at least will go down. A mistake from Maru as he gets a little bit caught up. Has fixed that Thor issue, by the way, as well, so that is now on the way. And it's going to be starting to line up a nuke defensively to keep the units away so he can just deny this base for the moment. And looks like he wants to guarantee himself the bottom left base of his own. And again, just continue to take an economy advantage in this TVZ.
And some Ling action, at least stopping one of these bases. And Reynor is going to try and adapt to the situation, expand the top right at this point. But a couple of good things happening. First fight with the Broodlords is all right. Then finding Maru, just not paying attention for a hot second. It was such slow units, it's really hard to recover from that. It's good stuff. It's keeping them both at a relatively even bank, so to the even game. And Maru, is maybe going to get a lead slightly on the bases. That is a maybe. The Ling's looking to, in fact, cancel some of these ones. No, not going to get the cancel. But we have maybe more similar to the first game, a lot more rotating going on. As Reynor just shy on being able to take the very, very top right. Is still pushing to the top right. Is he going to commit? It's going to be a little bit of base trade. Kind of have to. The Broodlords are so slow.
Got Nidus coming up in that top side as well in the main base. I like it. Gives Reynor some chances, at least gives him some hopes. Although this base looks as though it's going to go down as well. So Reynor, I mean, not a lot here. Some gas mining, I suppose. But he's not got anything in the bank. So, I mean, he really wanted to hang on to anything he could. But Nidus is going to create some distractions as we see Lings popping out. Maru had nothing in production, so we're just going to fly a chunk of BCs back home to deal with 10 Lings.
Right.
A little bit of overkill, but it gets the job done. Kills the Overseer off. No more Nidus from you, at least.
Yeah, not right now. See about the future. Maybe going to rebuild something that gets us sent over there, because I still think that's a worthwhile attempt. With Nidus rooms being relatively cheap. Well, not in this game, really. Reynor does not have a lot of gas. Needs to get those gases up ASAP to the top right bases, which the battlecruisers make their way towards, by the way. Very convenient after teleporting back home, so never mind about that top right. Yeah, this is still very dangerous for Reynor. Doesn't have that bank, does not have that second chance. Is going to find one battlecruiser. Maybe a second. I mean, he can't find all of them if he wants to sacrifice all of his corruptors as well, but that is the question. Is that how he's going to play it? The third battlecruiser goes down, and many of the corruptors do end up escaping, but finally finding them without a teleport, that was his chance to do so.
Yeah, I'm just going to get one more BC coming online here in the production, but he's continuing to really focus on a few more Hellbats. I don't hate it because obviously, as time passes by, you do want to make sure you're using up a lot of those minerals that you've got, and just kind of keep the mineral gas count even, because it's very easy just to mass up gas units, right? But if you have a chance to make the Hellbats useful, then do it, as we do see the BCs getting caught. Actually had the teleport as well, just responded a bit too late, but the counter snipes are going to kill so many corruptors.
I feel like I feel that sound in my gut with so many snipes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it looked like a freebie. It looked like the battlecruiser was completely undefended, but the ghosts were responding. So we're down to only so many corruptors, but only so many battlecruisers to be fair. It's still more about that ground army. Lots of ghosts though, lots of Thors, just enough Hellbats to help out. Reynor is going to go for a Ling attack to at least find some success over here. Now there's not something as easy as battlecruisers to teleport back. Maybe there's the one, but that's going to take a long time to clean all of these up. And Maru is not going to continue dedicating. That one he has something distracting him. That one his army gets a little bit AI'd over here as well. Maybe Reynor can once again find some freebie units that just get pathed over here. That's exactly what happens, but only Hellbats, not super important.
Yep.
Oh.
Tank sieging up. We're going to see Thor's pressing forward. Looks like Maru feels like he can probably take a fight right now.
Oh.
Gets the EMPs on the Infestors. Oh, no spellcasting is surely got to mean that this army can just continue to chase. There's no, I think there's one Infestor with energy there. And I mean, that's the only thing that can maybe drop a fungal to slow these ghosts down. Those were the money EMPs. He's going to get himself a base on this top right side. And again, Reynor is just continually being denied what he needs to potentially stay in this game. You can already see he's starting to look a little unsettled in his chair. Let's see if he can pull it back some way, somehow. Maru's not going for the kill move yet. He's doing the very systematic take away your bases and then guarantee you just cannot rebuild.
And taking Reynor's bases while he's at it. Oh, the bottom base. Well, it will be harassed. Reynor sending some of the reinforcing lings over there, but more bases of his are going to go down, more drones as well, and he still needs this one big fight to go well for him. Do his Infestors have those fungals quite yet? No, they do not. And never got access to no Parasite, by the way. So a lot of problems right now as Reynor goes for his last defense. The fungal does come down, at least one of those Infestors. And the Ghosts were captured for a hot second, but now retreating backwards. Are there any more? Are they going to get EMP'd? They're going to get sniped, actually, as Maru barrels down here. He's looking for the victory for this best of 5. Reynor, our last chance for the non-Korean to continue on in this tournament, is trying to hold the line, and he needs this base as well. He can't just give this up. He'd be really out of luck then. Can he hold with just the Broodlords? They are so darn weak. There's 4 Thors, 9 Ghosts left in play against 13 Broodlords, 7 Infestors that can't quite get what they want. A good fungal to end. The Broodlords are trying to snipe their best. Lings come in at the last second. No more Hellbats. And the Ghosts decide to go ahead and evacuate. Sorry, Thors. I guess you're going to go down. But Maru had the bank. That is the problem. That was a long fight that Reynor, I guess you could say, kind of won on the defensive, but the Ghost survived. The Remax is here for Maru, and Reynor is forced to tap